A desperate cry for his mother shatters the silence of the night. A young man is restrained, his eyes wide with horror, as a stern older man stands impassively before him. The older man, his father, coldly orders him to stop making a scene and leave. His only concern is that this matter doesn't leak to the outside, leaving his son in tearful disbelief. The father then declares that their family, the Bailey family, will not seek revenge for this. He justifies this heartless decision as being for the greater cause and forbids his son, Bailey Yun, from seeking revenge either. As his father turns to leave, Bailey Yun's despair turns to rage. "How can you call yourself a man," he screams, "when you can't even respond to your wife's death, let alone seek revenge?" His final damning thought echoes in the silence. The door slides shut, sealing Bailey Yun's fate and his father's betrayal. But Bailey Yun has other plans, declaring he has no attachment to the family that abandoned him. He makes a vow to grow so strong that no one can ever ignore him again. He will establish his own sect, gather his own people, and expand his influence. His targets are not just the killers, but also every single person who knew the truth and stayed silent. And with eyes burning with hatred, he swears he will have his revenge, even if it takes decades. Years later, we cut to a burning estate where a man is screaming for his life, begging for mercy. He desperately offers anything to the figure standing before him. That figure, an older and colder Bailey Yun, calmly draws his blade. Looking down at the carnage, Bailey Yun states that there is something he wants right now. Clinging to this last shred of hope, the man eagerly asks what it is. With a chilling smile, Bailey Yun gives his simple answer: "Your life." The man's hope shatters into fury, realizing he's being toyed with. Bailey Yun's smile vanishes. "Well then," he says coldly, "if you won't give it, I'll just take it myself." Enraged, the man lunges forward, screaming that he'll tear Bailey Yun to shreds. But suddenly, a new voice cuts in, belonging to a mysterious blue-haired man who appears out of nowhere. In a flash, he delivers a devastating kick, sending the begging man flying across the courtyard. The man crashes into a wall with a thunderous impact. Bailey Yun watches, his expression unreadable. But the man isn't done yet, launching himself at Bailey Yun while threatening to take his head to the Murim Alliance. But Bailey Yun is faster, his hand already on his sword. With a single blinding flash of his blade, the fight is over. The story then cuts away to another mission, another night of vengeance. A woman with long brown hair stands stoically before another burning estate. From the inferno emerges a masked swordsman, his blade still dripping with fresh blood. He approaches the woman, addressing her as Captain, and says he has something for her now that the job is done. With a blood-splattered, cheerful grin, he thanks her for waiting, revealing her name as Moyong Hyeon. Unfazed, Moyong Hyeon tells him to at least wipe the blood off his face as she takes a scroll from his hand. The two stand together, another successful and brutal mission now complete. Her subordinate casually wipes the blood from his cheek. The scroll is unfurled, marked with bold, bloody characters. The now unmasked swordsman reflects on his journey, wondering if this is the end or just the beginning. With a cheerful grin, he tosses the scroll to Moyong Hyeon, announcing his retirement and telling her to deliver it to the Murim Alliance. As he walks away, she asks if he's returning to his hometown, and he confirms he's achieved all his goals at the Alliance. He cheekily asks if he can visit his captain even after retiring, and she dryly tells him to come by if he's bored to death. But he stops her, reminding her that he'll need to know where to find her first. With a bright smile, he gives her his own destination instead, Hubei Province, Hualong County. The scene transitions to a peaceful river, where the swordsman is finally heading home. He looks out at the familiar landscape, thinking to himself, "It's been such a long time." A flashback shows him as a younger man, running towards a massive building as he recalls leaving his family to join the Murim Alliance and grow stronger. He didn't just get stronger, he excelled, creating his own martial arts and rising to the rank of captain over 12 long years. And now, after all that time, he's finally ready to achieve his ultimate dream, to start his very own sect. Back in the present, he clutches his savings, thinking how he saved up enough money just as the perfect property came on the market. He can barely contain his excitement. He shouts to the sky, feeling like the heavens themselves are on his side. His outburst catches the boatman's attention, and the swordsman sheepishly admits he got a little carried away. He explains that he's on his way to sign a contract for an estate to establish the sect he's dreamed of his whole life. But the boatman seems to know something, muttering to himself about the only estate in the area, and wondering if it's haunted. The boatman quickly plays it off, but the swordsman, high on his success, brushes it aside, thinking, what could possibly go wrong? And so, he continues his journey, blissfully unaware of the potential dangers ahead. But his dream immediately crashes into a very disappointing reality. A broker named Yi Liang tries to sell him on the spacious property, but the dilapidated estate is clearly not what he was expecting. Furious, he grabs Yi Liang by the collar, demanding to know if he's being scammed. The place is a complete wreck, and Yi Liang nervously begs him to take a tour before making a decision. Despite its condition, the estate is massive, boasting 45 rooms and an impressive 5 separate training grounds. The swordsman finds the 5 training grounds unusual, but Yi Liang just shrugs, saying he doesn't know much about its history. He admits that with some elbow grease it has potential, but he can tell there's a catch, so he cuts straight to the point, and the broker, impressed, drops a name that changes everything we thought we knew, Bailey Yun. Yi Liang then casually explains the one minor problem. Every single person who has ever bought this estate has died. They all perished from mysterious heart failure on the very night of the purchase, leading everyone to believe the land is cursed. The swordsman grabs the broker, furious. "And you're trying to pass that on to me?" But Yi Liang desperately explains that's why the price is 1/10 of market value, even offering to take less. To the broker's shock, our hero bursts out laughing, completely unfazed by the so-called death curse. Relieved, Yi Liang hands over the deed, mentioning Bailey Yun was the former captain of a division that catches ghosts. Our swordsman just smirks, looking more intrigued than afraid. And with that, the transfer is complete. But as soon as he holds the deed, a sudden chill runs down his spine, though he quickly plays it off. Yi Liang makes a hasty exit, telling him to come find him tomorrow, if he's still alive. The broker scurries away with his money, and our hero is left all alone in his new, potentially lethal home. But instead of fear, he's overcome with pure joy, screaming, "Finally, I have my own estate." His next step, finding disciples to start his new sect. But one enthusiastic hug reminds him that first, he has a lot of cleaning to do. And so, the former captain gets to work, scrubbing the floors with martial arts level speed. He tackles the dust and cobwebs head on. Looking pretty good. Just one last place to clean, the main hall. He throws open the doors, ready to finish the job. But inside, he finds something completely unexpected. A single sword, left perfectly on a stand. He wonders if the previous owner simply forgot it. And his first thought isn't about curses or danger, it's about how much cash he can get for this lucky find. But the moment he gets close, a strange light glints in his eyes. Suddenly the world shifts and he finds himself in a vast, sterile white chamber asking, "Where am I?" A strange panel appears, labeling him an examiner for sect establishment and giving him the highest evaluation score ever recorded. Before he can even process the message, a projectile whips past his face with a sharp crack. His reflexes are instantaneous. He draws the sword and slices the metal ball clean in half before it even hits the ground. His flawless reaction seems to have been too much for the system, which announces it's adjusting the test's difficulty, and then it all clicks. He remembers the broker's words and realizes this must be the so-called curse that killed the previous owners. He quickly pinpoints the source of the attack, a small turret hidden in the ceiling. But the system has already made its decision. The test is beginning, and the difficulty has been cranked up to extreme. But the former captain isn't fazed in the slightest, challenging the mysterious system to throw everything it has at him. The test begins in the Hall of Martial Power, and the first challenge descends from above. He meets it head-on, proudly declaring that he was a captain of the Murim Alliance's elite heaven-piercing division. He prepares to block, but something is wrong. The sheer force of the descending pillar is overwhelming, sending him flying backwards. He slides to a stop just as the attack ceases, realizing it has a limited range. He's safe for now, but the cheap sword he brought with him is already cracked and damaged from the single exchange. Just then, the pristine sword from the main hall appears before him, as if the system is offering him a proper weapon for the test. He grasps the new weapon, impressed that the system is this adaptable. He takes a moment to analyze the situation. Suddenly, a realization dawns on him. The attack's limited range isn't a weakness. It means there's something on the other side that the system needs to protect. With a new plan, he launches himself across the room towards a set of strange pillars. His eyes are sharp with focus, and just as he predicted, the pillars open up, unleashing a volley of projectiles. But our swordsman is already in motion, twisting through the air. He meets the barrage head-on, his new sword deflecting each shot with ease. With intense focus, he parries every single shot. But just defending isn't his style. He unleashes a flurry of his own, twisting his body with incredible speed, weaving through the deadly storm of energy. He redirects all the projectiles into a single point. The resulting explosion rocks the entire chamber. Using his signature flowing moon step to navigate the chaos, he follows up with the illusionary palm, and channeling all his energy into the blade, he prepares his ultimate move, New Moon. He shoots forward like a lightning bolt, aiming to end this test once and for all. His blade slices clean through the pillar, which explodes into 1,000 pieces. He lands gracefully as the test's energy fades around him, but his eyes widen in alarm as he realizes the metal balls are still active. Or are they? The projectiles suddenly dissolve into dust before his eyes, and just like that, a message appears. The test has ended. He finds himself back in the main hall, noticing the entire atmosphere of the estate feels different. The exhaustion finally hits him as the system confirms his success. It then announces it's unlocking the estate's functions to the max, and as a reward, the pristine sword floats down to him. He snatches it out of the air with a grin, figuring it's the least he deserves for passing a death trap on extreme difficulty. But there's one final step. The system demands he name the estate. He just smirks, revealing he's had a name in mind this whole time. With a surge of power, he proudly declares the founding of the Yiqian sect, the Righteous Heaven Sect. The system accepts the name, and a glowing symbol burns itself onto his palm. Still believing this is all the work of a ghost, he calls out for the spirit to show itself. To his shock, the system announces it's initiating, and he has no idea what that means. Suddenly, the entire estate rumbles and the doors begin to open. The full reality of his situation crashes down on him, and he screams the real estate broker's name in pure rage. But Yiliang is far away, casually dining with the estate's infamous previous owner, Bai Li Yun, and asking if the new guy survived the night. The next day, the masked swordsman tracks down Yiliang and furiously grabs him, demanding to know why he wasn't told about the estate's special features. He points at the system window floating beside him, screaming that this strange entity has been following him all night. Yiliang, completely oblivious to the system, just asks if the swordsman hit his head. Frustrated, the swordsman lets go, and Yiliang slyly offers to take the problematic estate off his hands. But the swordsman refuses, stating he still needs the property to establish his sect and must now prepare for the ceremony. Changing the subject, he asks for a recommendation on where to get about 20 sect uniforms made. Yiling explains that all the local shops are currently preoccupied with a major contract. They're all vying for the business of the legendary Golden Dragon Trade Company, which has supplied the imperial family for generations. This company is so powerful that its influence extends over both the orthodox and unorthodox factions of the entire Murim world. Yiliang then casually dismisses him, saying the Golden Dragon's quality is far beyond his budget anyway. Yiliang adds one last jab, doubting anyone on Fabric Street will do business with him because of the haunted estate rumors, prompting the system to complain about being treated like a ghost. But the swordsman freezes, a sudden thought striking him. He only signed the contract yesterday, so how did rumors spread so fast? His eyes narrow in suspicion. Yiliang breaks into a cold sweat, stammering that rumors just spread like wildfire. The swordsman's friendly facade drops completely, his eyes glowing with menace as he accuses, "So you're the one who spread the rumors." Cowering, Yiliang tries to argue that since the swordsman is alive, it proves the estate is safe, so there's no real problem. That's the last straw. The swordsman explodes, screaming that this is all Yiliang's fault for selling him a haunted estate in the first place. Then, his mood flips on a dime. He beams with a cheerful smile and declares, "We're not selling." He turns his back on the stunned broker, who desperately pleads for him to at least listen. Without looking back, the swordsman flicks a stone that smacks Yiliang right in the face, shouting, "I said we're not selling, now get lost. How unlucky to have someone possessed by ghosts come here." After dealing with the broker, our swordsman heads into town, trying to keep a low profile as whispers follow him. But his walk is interrupted by a desperate shout, and he turns to see what the commotion is about. A young boy is desperately clinging to a man's leg, crying out that he was promised his sister would be healed. An old man rushes to the scene, recognizing the boy, Seo Wu, who explains that these so-called warriors scammed him out of his money. But before anyone can help, the leader of the thugs brutally punches the child, sneering that his sister is a lost cause anyway. The old man is horrified, calling out the bullies by their affiliation. "You're from the White Sword sect. How dare you treat a child like this?" Their senior member steps forward, coolly ordering his subordinate to handle the situation quietly before their sect leader finds out. The senior brother glares, drawing his sword as he threatens the old man and the boy for not leaving when they had the chance. He smirks, ready to make an example of them. But before he can move, a masked figure blurs into existence, delivering a bone-shattering kick right to his face. The kick sends the senior member flying, shattering the ground on impact. The remaining thug leader is furious, demanding, "Who are you?" Our hero glances back at the boy and the old man, calmly stating that while his name isn't famous yet, it's only polite to answer. He removes his mask with a confident smirk and introduces himself as the leader of the Yitian sect, before dropping a name that echoes with infamy. "My name is Bai Li Yun." Enraged, the thug leader leaps into the air, screaming about how some unknown sect dares to interfere with the White Sword sect's business, but his attack is useless. The swordsman effortlessly sidesteps and counters with a single devastating palm strike. Standing over the defeated thugs, he muses that judging people by their sect's reputation isn't a good habit. He adds with a cold look, "Even more so when you don't know your opponent's strength." The thug leader, beaten but still defiant, snarls from the ground, "You bastard! Are you trying to make an enemy of the White Sword sect?" The thug leader's senior rushes in, screaming that our hero just made a fatal mistake. "I don't care," the swordsman replies, shattering the blade with a single reinforced punch. He follows up with a devastating kick that sends the senior member flying. The defeated man looks up in shock, suddenly connecting the dots. He asks if the swordsman is the rumored former captain who bought the haunted estate, to which our hero sighs, annoyed at how far the rumors have spread. He spits in defeat. Our hero points at him, revealing his real source of frustration. He can't even get sect uniforms made because of those stupid rumors. The senior member glares back defiantly, so the swordsman gives him a simple invitation, "Come at me." Taking this as a direct challenge to his sect, the senior member leaps into the air, vowing to make him regret his arrogance. But the attack is a complete whiff, as the swordsman dodges effortlessly, the ground cracking under the force of the missed blow. He sidesteps the attack with ease. The senior member follows up with a desperate horizontal slash, but our hero is already inside his guard, countering with a palm strike. The blow connects squarely with his chest, and sends the thug flying backwards with bone-shattering force. Lying defeated, the senior member hears a chillingly casual response. "Yeah, if you call it a challenge, it's a challenge." Then, with a menacing blue aura, the swordsman issues an open invitation. "If you want to fight, I'll accept any time, so come find me at Yitian's sect." He gives the thug one last warning, leave quietly, unless he wants to end up in even worse shape. Taking the hint, the White Sword sect members retreat, shouting threats. The swordsman's intimidating aura vanishes as he turns to check on Seo Wu and the old man. Suddenly, Seo Wu's eyes light up, remembering the hero's problem. He excitedly tells him his sister is really good at making clothes. But the boy suddenly drops to his knees, desperately begging the swordsman to save his sister. Flustered, the swordsman tries to explain that's a job for a physician, but a familiar blue screen pops into view. The system announces a new business contact detected, identifying Seo Wu as a level 3 target. A greedy glint appears in the swordsman's eyes. "Level 3, you say? Tell me more." As they walk, Seo Wu explains that he and his sister have been orphans since their parents passed away last year. He says his sister's skill as a tailor kept them from starving, but she's recently fallen ill with a strange sickness that freezes her hands and feet. The kind old man who runs a fabric shop explains he was worried because he gives work to the sister and had lost contact. Finally, Seo Wu runs ahead, announcing they've arrived at his home. The swordsman silently questions the building's structural integrity, just as Seo Wu bursts in, shouting that he brought a warrior who catches ghosts. Our hero can only manage a strained, awkward smile. Inside, they find a shocking sight. A young woman calmly holding her hands directly in a roaring fire. The swordsman is completely stunned. The girl looks up, unfazed by the flames, and asks who he is. He realizes that even with her hands and feet in the fire, she's completely fine, and this situation is far more serious than he imagined. His system explains that the fire's heat is canceling out a cold energy in her body, leading him to wonder if this is a side effect of some extreme yin energy martial art. He introduces himself, saying her brother Seo Wu sent him to save her, and confirms her name is Seo Hua. When he asks if she's hot, she calmly replies that if she doesn't keep her limbs in the fire, she gets frostbite. Just then, the old fabric shop owner rushes in, worried because he hadn't heard from her. But Seo Hua can only apologize for her condition. Cutting to the chase, the swordsman asks to check her pulse, saying there's something he needs to confirm. She agrees, and as he takes her hand, a strange energy begins to glow between them. As he holds her hand, a powerful cold energy flows from Seo Hua directly into the swordsman. The yin energy pulses intensely from her palm. His system screams a warning that he's absorbing a dangerous amount of yin energy, but he calmly tells it to shut up. The analysis confirms his suspicion. Her body has been completely invaded by the excessive energy. Releasing her hand, he confidently tells a hopeful Xiao Hua that he understands her situation now. He reveals her diagnosis. She possesses an extreme yin body, a special constitution that naturally gathers and stores the world's yin energy. He explains this is the same constitution as the legendary Sword Empress, one of the 10 heavens who stands at the absolute pinnacle of sword mastery. Xiao Hua admits she has no idea who that is, but it sounds incredible. The swordsman sighs, explaining that while it's a blessing for a martial artist, her body is dangerously out of balance, lacking the yang energy to counter the overwhelming yin. He then delivers the devastating prognosis. If this continues, she will die within 3 months, a fate he knows she must have already sensed herself. While Xiao Hua calmly accepts her fate, her brother Xiao Wu explodes with rage, screaming that the swordsman is a liar just like all the others. The old man asks if spiritual medicine could help, but the swordsman dismisses it as a temporary fix that won't stop the inevitable. He explains that what she truly needs is yang energy, but as a non-martial artist, she has no way to generate it. When suddenly, an idea begins to form. A system window appears showing a reward for a challenge task, the ability to use essence to boost a sect member's recovery power. This recovery power buff increases stamina and internal energy regeneration for all sect members, at the cost of 50 essence. And then he sees the challenge task itself. Recruit his first disciple, with a reward of exactly 50 essence. The gears in his head click into place. He can heal Xiao Hua and recruit a disciple, killing 2 birds with 1 stone. Slamming his hand down, he excitedly announces that he's found a way to save her. With a confident grin, he extends his hand and makes a life-changing offer. Xiao Hua, become a disciple of the Yidian sect. The siblings are left completely stunned by the sudden proposal. With unwavering confidence, he looks her in the eye and pleads, "Trust me just once." Xiao Hua pulls her brother close, her voice filled with doubt. "But I've never even learned martial arts. Why ask me to be your disciple?" Her mind flashes back to her past, recalling her father's words about the hypocrisy of martial artists who preach chivalry but are utterly selfish. The memory turns dark as she remembers how that selfishness got her parents killed, caught in the crossfire of their meaningless fights. Hardening her gaze, she challenges him, "You want me to become one of those people?" But his hand remains steady. Her eyes widen as she notices the faint frostbite creeping across his skin from when he touched her. He simply smiles, dismissing the injury. "This is nothing," he says, "if I can heal you." In that moment, her suspicion begins to melt away as she wonders, could this person be different? Looking down at her brother with a gentle, determined smile, Xiao Hua makes her decision. "If it can heal my body, I have no choice." With a determined smile, Xiao Hua places her hand in his. "I'm in your care," she says, officially becoming the first disciple of the Yitian sect. And right on cue, the system chimes in, "Challenge task complete." He's just earned 50 essence. But his expression hardens as the system warns him that the frostbite from her touch is spreading. Wasting no time, he immediately consumes the essence he just earned to activate a small recovery power. Xiao Hua gasps in disbelief as a warm light envelops her. For the first time in years, she can feel warmth returning to her hands. The system also announces a new passive buff for the sect. A slight increase to stamina and internal energy recovery. A confident smirk appears on the swordsman's face. It's working, he thinks as he begins applying the recovery power. He channels a powerful blue aura directly into Xiao Hua, who floats above him as her depleted internal energy begins to restore itself. He can feel the shift in her body as the vital yang energy finally starts to return. Xiao Hua stares at her own hands, now glowing with a gentle golden warmth, completely stunned by the impossible sensation. Xiao Hua stares at her hands in disbelief, exclaiming, "This is incredible! My hands and feet are healing!" Just then, the old fabric shop owner enters, stunned, asking if the swordsman performed energy healing, to which he casually replies, something like that. He just sits back, satisfied. The old man is beyond impressed, declaring that he can now see why the Murim Alliance leader himself cherishes the swordsman. This catches the swordsman completely off guard. How could this man possibly know about his connection to the Alliance leader? Realizing he's gotten ahead of himself, the old man formally introduces himself as Cheon Gamyong. But he's not just any old man. He's the Golden Dragon Trade Master, the powerful owner of the Golden Dragon Trade Company. Meanwhile, back at the White Sword sect, the defeated thugs kneel before their sect leader, who is furious they were humiliated by a brand new sect. As punishment for his failure, the leader brutally strikes down his own subordinate. The sect leader coldly tells his dying subordinate that this pain is nothing compared to the ridicule the sect will now face. He then orders the rest of the failures to be dragged to the punishment chamber as they beg for their lives. But their pleas are useless. As he walks away, the leader seethes, muttering the name that caused this humiliation, Bai Li Yun of Yitian sect. The White Sword sect leader, So Yeo Huang, grins with malice, already planning a grand welcoming ceremony for our hero. Back at Xiao Hua's home, the swordsman is intrigued by this new development. He sits across from the old man, asking for confirmation. "You're the Golden Dragon trade master?" Cheon Gamyong laughs, admitting that while he knew the swordsman was no ordinary person, he never imagined this. Xiao Hua, flustered, quickly apologizes for not recognizing him, but the trade master kindly waves it off. Then, getting down to business, Cheon Gamyong turns to the swordsman with a serious proposition. Join the Golden Dragon Trade Company. He promises to support everything the swordsman wants. And this is no small offer. The system itself flags the Golden Dragon Trade Company as a level 1 business contact, a massive guild that supplies the imperial family. Cheon Gamyong's influence is so immense that major sects watch their step around him, and his single word can sway both the Murim Alliance and the Evil Path Alliance. The swordsman considers the life-changing opportunity, but to everyone's surprise, he politely declines. With a grin, he explains that he's just accepted his first disciple and his path is now as a sect leader. The trademaster's friendly demeanor vanishes. "You dare refuse my offer?" Unfazed, the swordsman makes a counter-proposal. "Don't hire me, but do business with my sect, and I'll build a reputation worthy of your company." This audacity infuriates Cheon Gamyong, who explodes with rage. "How dare someone like you talk about giving reputation to the Golden Dragon Trade Company?" The swordsman calmly makes a legendary vow. "Within 10 years, I'll create a sect that stands shoulder to shoulder with the 9 great sects and the 7 gates." He then asks, "Would that be enough of a trade?" Cheon Gamyong scoffs at the rundown shack, calling the vow ridiculous, but the swordsman calmly agrees that yes, his sect is just starting out. The trademaster suddenly bursts into laughter, exclaiming, "You know how to talk big!" But the swordsman clarifies that the reputation he's promising isn't for the trademaster, which only angers Cheon Gamyong further. With a confident smirk, he reveals his true price. He's trading for the Golden Dragon Trade Company's future and asks to be introduced to the trademaster's disciple. Stunned by this incredible audacity, Cheon Gamyong thinks it over and finally agrees. Fine. He lays out his terms. He will send his disciple to the Yitian sect in the future, and that disciple will have the final say on any business partnership. However, he warns, his tone turning deadly serious, if your sect's progress is disappointing, you will bear the consequences, he snarls, as the immense spiritual pressure of a golden dragon erupts behind him. Unfazed, the swordsman meets his pressure with his own, a massive ethereal tiger manifesting as he coolly replies, "You don't need to worry about that." The clash of wills ends and Cheon Gamyong stands, declaring their verbal contract is set. With the deal struck, Cheon Gamyong immediately barks an order to bring the silk. Outside, his entire entourage was already waiting, bowing as their master emerges. He presents a massive stack of the finest silk, calling it an advance payment and a gift for the entertaining show. The swordsman graciously accepts, noting internally that he hadn't realized so many skilled masters were hiding this close. Later that night, Cheon Gamyong smirks, thinking about the swordsman's sheer audacity, which reminds him of someone else. Traveling by carriage, he calls out to his driver, and then he gives a shocking destination: the headquarters of the Evil Path Alliance. He grins, deciding it's high time he had a drink with the Evil Path Alliance leader. The night deepens, carrying with it the weight of this unexpected allegiance. Back at the Yitian sect, the swordsman asks Xiao Hua how she feels in her new clothes. But he's the one who's truly ecstatic, showing off his own custom Yitian robes that boost his dignity and charm. He giddily spins around, admitting it's his first time handling such fine silk and that it's incredibly comfortable. For her high-quality work, the system suddenly presents Xiao Hua with a reward of her own. The options are incredible: an advanced manual, a talent elixir, or a unique trait unlock. While the first two are tempting, the swordsman's eyes are drawn to the most intriguing option. He selects the unique trait unlock. bringing up a status window that confirms Seo Hua's immense potential due to her extreme yin body. It lists her inherent traits: diligence, adversity, and responsibility, but a warning states she lacks the internal energy to unlock them yet. Confused, he taps the screen, wondering why the selection is locked. The system explains she needs to grow stronger and increase her grade first, prompting an annoyed swordsman to call it stingy. He resolves that the only way forward is to help Seo Hua grow strong enough to unlock her own potential. With a grin, he announces that her proper training begins now, much to the siblings' surprise. Seo Hua is filled with doubt, wondering if she, a simple tailor, can really learn martial arts. She remembers him reaching out to her, but the fear of making a mistake holds her back. But then she recalls his selfless promise, that healing her was all that mattered. Her resolve hardens. She decides to trust her new master completely and eagerly asks what she will learn first. The first lesson, he declares, is the absolute foundation of all martial arts: the horse stance. Seo Hua's enthusiasm immediately deflates. This isn't the grand technique she was imagining. He explains that after years of her illness, this is the best way to build up her depleted physical strength and stamina. When she asks how long, he gives her the goal: 1 hour. Before she can protest, he yells for her to begin. Seo Hua is still hesitant. She asks if someone with zero experience can truly learn, but he reminds her of her unique constitution. He explains that her extreme yin body is a natural magnet for internal energy, a massive head start for any martial artist. He can't help but grin, thinking he's found a prodigy, and even the system calls out his cunning. But their training is suddenly interrupted. A man comes barreling into the estate, shouting for Bai Liyun. He shoves a letter into our hero's hands, announcing it's from the White Sword sect. Seo Wu recognizes the man's uniform and erupts in anger, realizing these are the thugs from yesterday. The swordsman calmly takes the letter. It's an invitation, or rather, a challenge. The White Sword sect is hosting a tournament and demands the Yidian sect's participation. The messenger explains that the White Sword sect has a firm grip on the region, and their leader is infamous for using tournaments to crush smaller sects. But he's confused. Why would they target a brand new, no-name sect like theirs? Hey, did you just call us no name? The messenger immediately starts sweating bullets, but our hero just smirks, finding the whole situation amusing. He figures they just want to humiliate a new sect. Good, he declares. This is the perfect chance to make the Yitian sect famous. But Seo Hua is not so sure. She worries, pointing out that with only 2 members, she'll just hold him back. He turns to her, hand on his sword, and drops an absolute bombshell. The one participating is you, Seo Hua, the head disciple, alone. Her brain short-circuits as she processes his words. Me? Alone? What? Alone? Meanwhile, at the imposing headquarters of the White Sword sect, back in the present, Seo Hua's training is brutal. She collapses, exhausted. I know my stamina is low, but is only doing horse stance really the answer? All day, it's the same thing. Basic swings a child could master. Lying on the floor, panic sets in as she stares at the ceiling. There's less than 2 weeks until the martial arts tournament. She's at her breaking point, completely baffled by her master's methods. What is the sect leader even thinking? Remembering his infuriatingly casual, "Don't worry," she finally snaps. That's it. I'm going to confront him about this. But just as she's about to march over, her door slides open. It's the swordsman. Good, you're not asleep. Seo Hua is caught completely off guard. Sect leader? We see what he was just up to, clumsily trying to sew. He thinks, this is harder than I thought, as a system window hilariously announces his 23rd self-inflicted wound has started bleeding. He knew his student was struggling. She must be starting to doubt the horse stance training by now, he thinks. But before that, I need to finish this martial arts uniform for her. He holds up his creation, a proud smile on his face. I hope she likes it. The sight of his clumsy, heartfelt gift leaves Seo Hua speechless in the doorway. And in that moment, the system chimes in. Seo Hua's trait, responsibility, is beginning to sprout. Time flashes forward. It is the day of the White Sword Sect martial arts tournament. Inside a registration hall, members of the White Sword Sect grumble amongst themselves. Why is the sect leader making such a big deal out of this? Couldn't we just spar with the Yitian sect privately? Another member scoffs. You fool, the rumor that our guys got humiliated has already spread everywhere. Their leader, So Yo Huang, isn't just seeking revenge. He's making a public statement, crushing his enemies to show everyone the price of defiance. A cocky sect member at the registration table smirks. Looks like some fools picked the wrong fight, before looking up to see who's arrived. It's the swordsman and Seo Hua, both looking completely unfazed. The swordsman calmly asks, "I just need to sign here?" The registrar's eyes drift to Seo Hua, and he sneers internally. Does this sect choose disciples based on looks? But Seo Hua meets his gaze with a quiet, confident smile. She's ready. The swordsman asks his disciple with a gentle smile, "So, do you like the outfit?" We flash back to a slightly flustered swordsman, wondering about the quality of the uniform he made. Seo Hua admits the stitching is a bit rough, but her answer is a resounding, "I love it!" Back in the present, the man of the hour, So Yo Huang, steps onto the main stage. He addresses the gathered sects, formally commencing the White Sword Martial Arts Tournament, claiming it's to strengthen bonds. Yeah, right, he continues, saying it's a chance for the next generation to shine, and to that end he's prepared a special gift. An attendant opens a box, revealing a glowing blue orb. The crowd gasps. It's a small clarity pill. This is an incredibly rare spiritual elixir from the legendary Wudang sect, capable of strengthening a martial artist's core foundation. So Yeo Huang declares that this priceless pill will be awarded to the tournament's winner, sending a wave of excitement through the crowd. With the prize revealed and the stakes raised, an official informs So Yo Huang that the drawings for the matches are ready. But So Yo Huang sneers at the greedy crowd, thinking them all foolish fools. His true goal is to make sure the Yitian sect can never stand up to the White Sword sect again. He manically orders his disciples to show everyone an overwhelming difference in power. The tournament begins at the preliminary venue. Seo Hua, however, looks incredibly nervous. She turns to her master and timidly asks if she'll be able to do well. He tells her to remember her training, but she can only recall practicing her horse stance. Sensing her doubt, he tells her to trust in him, the one who gave her that training. He insists that she's become much stronger than before, which seems to surprise her. Though not fully convinced, his words fill her with a new resolve, and she declares she'll do her best. So Yo Huang announces the start of the Area 3 preliminaries, while Seo Hua's master watches with a confident smirk, a phantom blue aura flaring behind him. In the ring, Seo Hua introduces herself to her opponent, Cheong Sam, the third disciple of the Blue Moon sect. Cheong Sam immediately sizes her up, sneering internally that she looks like a complete amateur who's never even sparred before. When she confirms she's only been training for a month, he scoffs and vows to teach the rookie a lesson for her audacity. The referee brings his flags down, shouting for the match to begin. Cheong Sam rushes forward, but in a blur of motion, Seo Hua drops low and explodes from her stance. Before he can even process her speed, she slams her shoulder directly into his midsection. The devastating impact sends him flying backward across the arena. He crashes to the ground, defeated in a single, overwhelming blow. The referee stares in disbelief, stammering that this can't be possible. The crowd is in utter disbelief, muttering, "No way, the match was decided in one blow." From the sidelines, her master smirks at the stunned referee. "I told you to trust me, didn't I?" Shaking off his shock, the referee finally raises the flag and bellows, The winner is Seo Hua of Yitian sect." The master watches with a knowing smile, thinking about how he taught Seo Hua the true mindset of a martial artist. He reflects that striking with full power is difficult for beginners who often hold back, afraid to truly hurt their opponent. But Seo Hua is different. She unleashes her full, unhesitating power in every strike. Back in the present, Seo Hua beams with pride, calling out, "Sect leader, I won!" He smiles back, confident that she'll pass the main tournament without any difficulty. With his worries about Seo Hua eased, he decides to scout the other noteworthy fighters. Just as the next match is announced, the name White Sword Sect immediately catches his attention. On the stage, a disciple from the White Sword Sect easily overpowers his opponent. He lands a clean strike, sending the man reeling. The defeated fighter immediately admits his loss. But as he surrenders, he looks up to see his opponent radiating pure killing intent. The White Sword Sect disciple unleashes a merciless barrage on the downed man. The referee screams for him to stop, shouting that the match has already been decided. But the brutal assault continues. Finally, the referee declares the winner, Jin Guang of the White Sword Sect. Watching from the crowd, the master scoffs, disgusted by the cheap and cruel tactics. His thoughts are interrupted by Seo Hua, who runs up excitedly, and his stern expression melts into a warm smile as he congratulates her. Still buzzing from her win, Seo Hua tells her master, "Just as you said when I used all my strength, I won easily. It really works." But her celebration is cut short as she feels an unpleasant killing intent emanating from the fighter who just left the stage. Jin Guang. Her master notices her unease and warns her, "At this rate, you'll probably face him in the main tournament." He then formally congratulates her on advancing. Their conversation is interrupted by the arrival of the tournament host himself, White Sword Sect leader So Yo Huang. With a false smile, So Yo Huang apologizes for his disciples' rudeness, but the master retorts, "I was fine, but your disciples could definitely use some education." So Yo Huang places a condescending hand on Seo Hua's shoulder, remarking how impressive it is for a girl to advance so far. He then tells her it's a shame she'll lose her next match, but offers her a spot in his sect anytime she wants. The master smoothly removes So Yo Huang's hand, thanking him for the compliment before adding, "Your disciples also looked somewhat useful." Somewhat? So Yo Huang's friendly facade finally cracks, seething. So Yo Huang barks an order for a disciple named Wang Pao. With a smile that doesn't reach his eyes, he orders Wang Pao to escort them to their lodgings, dismissing them with a thinly veiled threat to enjoy the schedule. As they're led away, the master mutters to himself, "If only we could..." Already scheming. Their guide, Wang Pao, introduces himself, but the master's system is already analyzing him, revealing he has an excellent physique and outstanding talent. He politely shows them the way, but the master suddenly stops him, getting a little too hands-on as he inspects the disciple's build. With a manic grin, he compliments Wang Pao's incredible physique, leaving the young man completely flustered. Visibly weirded out, Wang Pao quickly shows them to their room and makes a hasty retreat. Seo Hua tries to bring the conversation back to her next opponent, but her master has a completely different target in mind. He slyly asks what she thinks of taking that Wang Pao guy on as her junior disciple, leaving Seo Hua utterly speechless. Meanwhile, a flashback reveals the moment So Yo Huang first scouted Wang Pao. The sect leader had personally recruited him, praising his impressive physique and obvious talent. Overjoyed, the young Wang Pao gratefully accepted the offer to join the White Sword Sect. But his time there was far from what he'd hoped. During a sparring match, he was utterly defeated by the cruel Jin Guang, a disciple 3 years his junior. As Jin Guang loomed over him, Wang Pao pleaded for him to stop, reminding him it was just training. But his sect leader simply turned away in disgust, coldly stating, "I misjudged you." So Yo Huang berated the defeated disciple, calling him nothing but an empty shell with a big frame. With his potential dismissed, Wang Pao was condemned to a life of menial labor, his dreams completely shattered. Back in the present, Wang Pao jolts awake in a cold sweat, haunted by the traumatic memory. He clutches his face, trying to shake off the nightmare, wondering if it was real. Suddenly, his tormentor appears in the doorway. "You're up, senior brother," Jin Guang says, startling Wang Pao. Jin Guang explains he's here to warm up before a spar, but Wang Pao tries to refuse, saying he's not feeling well. Jin Guang's eyes narrow. "That doesn't matter," he says coldly. "I need you right now." He twists the knife, saying someone whose only use is their body should make themselves useful, leaving Wang Pao to quietly accept his fate. As Jin Guang orders him to hurry up for a light warm-up, Wang Pao sits up, completely dejected. Meanwhile, back at the tournament, the crowd roars as the announcer declares the beginning of the semi-finals. The master begins coaching Seo Hua, explaining her next opponent, Wu Gyum, uses the tricky illusion sword technique, which has many variations but also large openings. He then quizzes her, "So, how do you beat an illusion sword user?" Seo Hua hesitates before guessing, Try not to be deceived?" Her master grins. "That's correct, but there's an easier method for you right now. Just keep getting hit." Seo Hua can't believe what she's hearing. He gives her a sly grin, confidently telling her that with this method, she'll definitely win. His confidence is contagious, and Seo Hua agrees with newfound determination. As they wait, a familiar face approaches. It's the broker, Yi Liang. Yi Liang congratulates the master on achieving such results with a new disciple in only a month. But the master coolly dismisses him, saying he'll accept congratulations after they win the finals tomorrow, leaving Yi Liang stunned. The match begins, and Seo Hua faces her opponent, Wu Gyum, who immediately taunts her that her luck ends here. He smirks, claiming that everyone in the arena is predicting her defeat. But Seo Hua stands tall, retorting, "That's not true. At least our sect leader said I would win." Wu Gyum throws his head back and laughs. "Ha! Like sect leader, like disciple. Neither of you are in your right mind." With the referee's signal, the match begins, and Seo Hua charges forward, declaring she will win. Their wooden swords immediately clash in the center of the arena. Wu Gyum smirks, condescendingly acknowledging her fighting spirit. He unleashes a powerful swing, and the crowd notes that as expected of a White Sword Sect disciple, his fundamentals are on another level. But Seohwa meets his attack with fierce determination. Wu Gyum leaps back, taunting her. "Are you already giving up?" As he prepares his next move, Seohwa remembers a crucial lesson. If you can't distinguish a feint from a real strike, a glint of realization, then you must defend the center line. She raises her guard just in time, perfectly blocking his two-pronged assault with a deafening clang. The force of the block sends Wu Gyum skidding backward. He looks up, a surprised but cruel smirk on his face. "Oh, you blocked that." Purple energy begins to swirl around him as he gets serious. "I seem to have underestimated you too much." He lunges, shouting, "Then how about this?" Wu Gyum unleashes a flurry of shadowy projectiles. Seohwa is stunned as the attack whips past her face. But in that moment, she recalls another of her master's lessons. Illusion sword users are weak in close combat and will always try to keep their distance. If your sword can just reach your opponent, he had said, you can win. A fire of determination lights up her eyes. "Now it begins!" Understanding the strategy, Seohwa explodes forward, closing the gap in a flash. Wu Gyum grins, thrilled by the challenge. "That's more like it!" But his illusion sword technique kicks in, creating multiple afterimages that dance around Seohwa. In a flash, he appears behind her, mocking her predictable charge. "But I'm sorry, your movements are too obvious." And he lands a brutal strike right on her back. Elio gasps in shock from the sidelines, but the master just smirks, completely unfazed. Wu Gyum stands over his fallen opponent, arrogantly declaring, "I won!" Seohwa is down, struggling to breathe. He scoffs. "I had some expectations, but this is as far as you go." But with a fire in her eyes, she pushes herself up, growling, "It's not over yet!" she roars, planting her feet firmly back on the stage. Wu Gyum is stunned, shouting, "You can barely stand, what are you going to do?" In response, Seohwa explodes forward in a blur of motion. He throws up a hand in panic, stammering, "Don't make me laugh." But her eyes are filled with conviction as she thinks, this one strike will end it. And with a brutal crack, she slams her shoulder directly into his face. Watching from the sidelines, her master grins in satisfaction. "Good, I won." Wu Gyum, now sprawled on the ground, points an accusing finger and screams, "That's a foul! She pretended to be defeated to launch a surprise attack." He continues his pathetic rant. "Otherwise, do you think it makes sense to lose to a girl like that?" The master calmly observes the tantrum, thinking how incredibly rude the White Sword Sect is to let a disciple argue with a sect leader. But before Wu Gyum can continue his whining, his sect leader, So Yo Huang, appears behind him with a terrifying glare. Putting on a false smile, So Yo Huang steps forward and says, "Please forgive my disciple's rudeness, Yitian sect leader." He then turns on his own student, coldly stating, "The White Sword Sect acknowledges defeat in this match." With the concession, the referee officially declares Seohwa the winner, and the crowd erupts in shock and excitement. Whispers spread through the stands. "I heard she's been learning martial arts for less than a month." Seohwa rushes to her master, beaming with pride. "Sect leader, I won," he replies. "Yes, you worked very hard. Yiliang is treating us to dinner tonight." But amidst the celebration, one person stands alone in the crowd, the dejected Wang Pal. Suddenly, his sect leader, So Yo Huang, approaches him from behind. Grabbing him by the shoulder, So Yo Huang gives a sinister order. "Wang Pal, mix a paralyzing poison into that bastard's meal tonight." He continues, his face twisted with malice. "That girl can't just be defeated. Tell Jin Guang to break all her limbs and cripple her." Horrified, Wang Pal shakes his head, refusing the vile order. I can't do such a thing." So Yo Huang sneers down at him. "You foolish thing. Without talent, you should at least be clever." He punctuates his insult with a vicious backhand across Wang Pal's face. "That's why your juniors keep surpassing you." But a calm voice cuts through the tension. "You discipline your disciples quite harshly, White Sword Sect leader." So Yo Huang's eyes narrow in fury. It's the Yitian sect master, approaching with a knowing smirk. "To interfere in another sect's affairs," So Yo Huang growls, "you're quite rude." The master continues, undeterred. "I don't know what's going on, but aren't you being too harsh on that friend?" "Mind your own business," So Yo Huang snarls, but the master calmly replies, "No, I came because I have business with you." With a look of pure contempt, So Yo-hwang makes a shocking declaration. Fine, Wang Pal, you can go with him to the Yitian sect. Wang Pal is completely stunned by the sudden declaration. The master smirks, twisting the knife. From what I see, our methods would suit him far better than yours. So Yo-hwang whirls on Wang Pal, his eyes burning with rage. So that's it! You got close to him, and that's why you refused my orders. But then, a sinister smile spreads across his face. Fine, he sneers. I'll accept that proposal. He pulls Wang Pal close, changing the terms. However, I can't just let my cherished disciple go. How about a wager? Elsewhere, Seo-hwa shivers as a sudden chill runs down her spine, sensing her master is up to something dangerous. So Yo-hwang lays out his trap. The sect that wins the tournament gets to take one disciple from the loser. The master calmly accepts the deal. As Wang Pal begs them to stop, So Yo-hwang leans in, his face a mask of fury. Let's do that! He turns to leave, delivering a final, chilling threat. I'll look forward to it. You're about to lose your only disciple. The master grabs the stunned Wang Pal by the collar, a sly grin spreading across his face. Why do you think I chose you? He leans in, telling the flustered disciple that this isn't an empty promise, so he better think carefully. Nearby, Yiliang is having a complete meltdown. What? Does Lady Seo-hwa even know about this insane wager? But the master just strolls off, cheerfully declaring that Seo-hwa will be happy to have a junior, and besides, it'll be fine if we win, right? He finds Seo-hwa and puts his hands on her shoulders, his expression turning serious. I don't want to pressure you, but can you win this match? She admits the odds are 50-50, but her master cuts her off. That's right, but I believe you can do it. He looks her dead in the eye, his voice firm. I trust you. His words are like a jolt of lightning. Seo-hwa's spirit ignites as she declares, Yes, I'll try my best. And a system window confirms it. Her responsibility trait has begun to sprout. Meanwhile, in the White Sword Sect's corner, So Yo-hwang gives his final instructions to Jin Guang. You must not let your guard down. His voice drops to a furious hiss. There must be no more humiliation. You must win. Jin Guang bows, his eyes gleaming with malice. Yes, sect leader. As Jin Guang prepares, a senior disciple warns him to be careful. But Jin Guang scoffs, mocking his senior for overrating the Yidian sect beginner's luck. With a dark look, he vows to shatter all of Seo-hwa's vain hopes. The referee calls them forward, and the final match is set. Jin Guang immediately taunts her, saying her lucky streak ends here. Seo-hwa just smiles back, confidently replying, We'll have to see about that, won't we? The match begins! Jin Guang smirks, assuming she'll have to rely on tactics and weak points to fight. But Seo-hwa does the exact opposite, exploding forward in a direct confrontation. Their weapons collide and a pained grunt escapes Jin Guang's lips. His face twists in disbelief as he realizes the truth. Her internal energy is stronger than I thought? We flash back to her master's advice. Your opponent will think you don't have much internal energy. That's natural. But you have an extreme yin body, he explained, a constitution that naturally accumulates it. His final instruction rings in her mind. One chance. Seizing that chance, Seo-hwa leaps high into the air, bringing her wooden sword down with all her might. But Jin Guang just smirks, easily parrying the blow. He immediately counters with a vicious punch to her gut. The impact sends her flying backward across the arena. She lands, still defiant, as Jin Guang taunts her, I'll acknowledge that your internal energy is better than expected. But you're still just a beginner, he roars, lunging forward to finish her. But Seo-hwa is faster. She drops low, sweeping his legs out from under him in a stunning display of agility. As she blocks his attack, she realizes with a shock, this person is strong. But her resolve doesn't waver for an instant as she vows, I'll finish this in 10 seconds. Fueled by her master's trust, she thinks, I can't lose like this. In a flash, she twists her body and slams her shoulder hard into Jin Guang's ribs. At that very moment, a system window appears. Her traits of diligence and adversity are fusing, centered on responsibility. A new light shines in her eyes. A unique trait has been unlocked. Clear mirror, still water. Her focus sharpens to a razor's edge. The system explains, in extreme situations, her perception and judgment are now greatly increased. For Seo-hwa, time itself seems to slow down. Jin Guang recovers and swings his sword with brutal force. But in Seo-hwa's heightened state, his movements are clear as day. I'll praise you for holding out this long, he sneers. But can you receive this strike too? Her eyes widen in shock. With a furious roar, Jin Guang brings his sword down for the finishing blow. From the crowd, Xiao Wu screams his sister's name in terror. But in that critical instant, her master's voice rings in her mind. I trust you. A deafening crash echoes through the arena, and it's Jin Guang who is sent flying backwards. The master watches intently, a single bead of sweat betraying his tension. As Jin Guang lies defeated, a stunned So Yo Huang can only mutter in disbelief, misidentifying her power as the yin-cold energy art. A cool blue energy emanates from Seo Hua's hand. But it wasn't some legendary art. It was the basic light body art, which she used to focus all her power into a single point. Looking at her own hand, even Seo Hua is surprised by the result, noting, it's a bit cold? On the stage, Jin Guang finally collapses, completely unconscious. The master can't contain himself and leaps into the ring, shouting his disciple's name. When the referee tries to stop him, he roars back, "Can't you see the outcome has already been decided?" The official can only stare at the unmoving form of Jin Guang. With a shaky voice, the referee declares the impossible. The winner is Seo Hua of the Yitian sect. Beaming with joy, Seo Hua looks to her master, who returns her smile with immense pride. But from the stands, So Yo Huang can only tremble with rage, spitting, "You've made complete fools of the White Sword sect." His disciples rush to his side, but the public humiliation is absolute. In the ring, Seo Hua looks up at her master, her smile radiant. I kept my promise. The master's heart swells with pride. As he helps his disciple up, he turns to the stunned crowd, a grin spreading across his face. He raises her arm high in the air, roaring, "The winner of the White Sword Martial Arts Tournament is Wase Hua of the Yitian sect." Seizing the moment, the master addresses the entire audience. In 1 month, we will hold the Yitian sect's official establishment ceremony, and I'd like to invite everyone here to attend. The crowd erupts in whispers, shocked that a sect that hasn't even officially been founded just toppled the reigning local power. But from the stands, So Yo Huang explodes with rage, screaming, "Yitian sect leader, you bastard! You used my sect for your establishment ceremony?" Unsheathing a claw weapon, he snarls, "And you dared hide a yin-cold energy art right in front of me." But his attack is stopped mid-swing. It's Wang Pal who calmly tells his enraged leader, "You're the one who should maintain your dignity." So Yo Huang's eyes glow red as he roars, "Are you defending the Yitian sect already? Traitors are executed on the spot." But before the killing blow can land, the Yitian sect master appears in a flash, effortlessly blocking the attack. As the crowd gasps in recognition, the master coldly asks, "What are you doing, White Sword sect leader?" He stands protectively in front of Wang Pal, declaring, "Wang Pal is now a disciple of the Yitian sect. Don't treat him carelessly." A blue aura flares around him as he issues a final chilling challenge. "If you're not satisfied with the results, I can face you directly." With a crushing grip, the master completely immobilizes So Yo Huang's hand. The sect leader can only grit his teeth, utterly overpowered. Forced to back down, he yanks his hand away, screaming, "Damn it, do as you please!" When his disciples rush to his side, he furiously orders them to leave him. Seething with rage, So Yo Huang glares back and vows, "Yitian sect leader, I will never forget this humiliation." As the White Sword sect retreats, Wang Pal is lost in doubt, wondering if a talentless person like him can truly start over. But the master places a firm hand on his shoulder, declaring, "You're already an excellent martial artist. I will definitely prove it." Wang Pal's mind flashes back to the day his spirit was broken, when his junior Jin Guang mocked his weakness after defeating him in a spar. The memory of So Yo Huang dismissing him as an empty shell brings tears to his eyes as he looks at his new master with a glimmer of hope. With tears of gratitude, Wang Pal clenches his fist and vows, "Thank you. I'll work hard from now on." As the tournament officially concludes, Yiliang mutters to Seo Hua that her master is stealing all the credit for her victory. Sometime later, back at the Yitian sect estate, Wang Pal diligently practices his horse stance. Seo Hua playfully pops up behind him, asking to do something else, while Wang Pal internally celebrates being called senior disciple. He straightens up, puffing his chest out and declaring that their sect leader always emphasizes the basics. Seo Hua, with only 2 months of training, cheerfully encourages Wang Pal, with his 8 years of experience, to work hard so he can become like her. Trying to save face, Wang Pal boasts about his physical strength, only for Seo Hua to immediately put him on water fetching duty. He accepts his new role with a smile. ready for the hard work ahead. But the master system reveals the truth. Wang Pao's weaknesses are significantly low energy sensitivity and slow internal energy accumulation. Watching his new disciples play, the master thinks to himself, "As I thought, I saw him correctly." He knows Wang Pao's true talent lies in his incredible understanding of techniques and his unwavering mental image, all backed by immense physical strength. With Seo Hua and now Wang Pao, his sect is finally taking shape. He can't help but feel a little smug. My eye for talent is really accurate. Later, he meets with Yi Liang to discuss the upcoming establishment ceremony for the Yitian sect. Yi Liang reports that thanks to the buzz from the tournament, they've received a flood of RSVPs from influential figures. But among them, he says, was a direct order from the Murim Alliance, which catches the master completely off guard. From the Murim Alliance? As he takes the scroll, a blue aura flares, and he sees the name it's addressed to, Baili Yun. The scroll bursts into flames as he reads the shocking order. He's being summoned to undergo a plagiarism examination for using the Bailey family's basic martial arts. The master is furious, exclaiming that it's been 15 years since he left the Bailey family, and this move is completely out of character for the old man. But his anger quickly turns into a wry smirk as he realizes the strategy, muttering that targeting weaknesses is a classic Bailey family move. He scoffs, knowing his Yitian sect's martial arts are the culmination of 15 years of his own blood, sweat, and enlightenment. There's not even a trace of the Bailey family's techniques in it. However, he knows the real danger. If the Murim Alliance's examiner is already in the Bailey family's pocket, it'll be almost impossible to avoid a guilty verdict. Yi Liang panics, explaining that if he fails, not only will he be forbidden from teaching his arts, but he'll also have to pay a massive compensation fee. And it gets worse. He warns the sect leader that even if he applies for a re-examination later, the standards will be even more strict, making it a hopeless situation. With the dire warning delivered, Yi Liang takes his leave. The master knows the timing is no coincidence. His father is targeting the sect's establishment ceremony. His only counter is to prove his techniques are unique by comparing them to the basic arts of every prestigious family he can find. But that raises the impossible question, where is he supposed to get all those secret manuals on such short notice? He falls into a deep strategic silence, completely tuning out his surroundings. Wang Pao and Seo Hua can only watch in confusion as their master suddenly zones out. But their quiet is broken by an announcement from Seo Hua. Guests have arrived. Outside, two unfamiliar figures stand in the courtyard, one complaining about their cheapskate captain, and the other threatening murder over property damage. The master steps out, demanding to know who they are. The large man turns with a booming laugh, addressing him not as sect leader, but as the captain of the heaven-piercing division. It's his old comrades, squad leader Chiangha and division member Namgung Wu. Seo Hua can only look on, confused by this sudden reunion, but a wicked grin spreads across the master's face as he realizes these old friends are the key to turning this entire situation around. Meanwhile, at the grand estate of the prestigious Bailey family, Cheon Gamyoung weighs his options, realizing the Murim Alliance will almost certainly side with a family they have such deep ties to. His associate asks if he's worried, but Cheon Gamyoung clarifies that this isn't like dealing with the White Sword sect. This is a whole different level of political warfare. With a new resolve, he decides to act, ordering his subordinate to prepare to send a letter. He explains that if their opponent is using the influence of the Murim Alliance, then they just need to expand the game. His audacious plan? Drag the infamous Evil Path Alliance into the conflict. Cheon Gamyoung smirks, ready to play a dangerous game by involving the most notorious faction in the land. Back at the Bailey estate, Bailey Yun's father chides a subordinate, telling the external hallmaster that he is doing something unnecessary. He questions the external hallmaster's decision, asking why he ordered a plagiarism exam for a sect that isn't even established yet. The external hallmaster, now identified as Bailey Seong, respectfully pushes back, stating that was the family head's unilateral decision. He argues that the other potential heirs are unsuitable. The eldest is weak, and the other, while talented, is a girl. The family head, Bailey Gang, calmly sips his tea, retorting that there's no rule in their family that prevents a girl from inheriting. Enraged, Bailey Seong slams his hand down, demanding to know why Bailey Gang let his own son leave the family when he cherished him so much. He reminds him that Bailey Yun was a perfect heir, possessing talent, intelligence, and an outstanding character that no one could fault. "That's right," he declares. He proclaims they must show Bailey Yun that his foundation is the Bailey family, revealing this is the will of the Council of Elders and the external hall. But Bailey Gang slams his cup down, cutting him off. He coldly states he has done his duty as a father, and that adversity is necessary for growth. His true chilling motive is revealed, to let his son know that wherever he goes, he is always under the Bailey family's sky. Undeterred, Bailey Seong vows that he will definitely bring Bailey Yun back to the family. The day of the Yitian sect's establishment ceremony arrives. A Murim Alliance official, Vice Military Advisor Lee Soo, smugly reminds him that no sect has ever passed the plagiarism examination safely. But Bailey Seong is completely unfazed, confidently stating he's not worried at all and will succeed. Lee Soo doesn't understand the obsession, but Bailey Seong insists that Bailey Yun is far more than just a blood relative. He explains that if Bailey Yun had never left the family, he would have become the greatest swordmaster of his generation. He may have abandoned them, Bailey Seong declares, but the family needs him. As they stand before the sect's entrance, he wonders how Bailey Yun will answer the family's call. A voice rings out, ordering the gates to be opened. From the main hall, the Yitian sect master makes his grand entrance. With a smirk, he silences the murmuring crowd with a single command: "Be quiet." He leaps high into the air and lands with a thunderous impact in the center of the courtyard, his voice booming, "Open the gates!" The force of his arrival is immense. It sends a shockwave through the crowd, though Bailey Seong and Lee Soo remain unmoved. Planting a large banner bearing the sect's dragon emblem, he stands ready to address the masses. He thanks everyone for gathering and formally introduces himself as Bailey Yun, the Yitian sect leader. But before the ceremony can begin, he announces there's a pressing issue to resolve, one he intends to clarify for everyone present. He begins to speak about the Yitian sect, and that the Yitian sect has plagiarized the Bailey family's martial arts. The crowd erupts in confusion, with one man face-palming in disbelief. Others whisper amongst themselves, wondering if he just admitted to plagiarism with his own mouth. But his old comrade Chonga just grins, finding the whole situation far more interesting than he expected. Lee Soo thinks this has made things easier, but Bailey Seong senses there's more to this than a simple confession. Unfazed by the chaos, Bailey Yun stands his ground. A confident smirk plays on his lips. He then calls out, asking for the examination team dispatched from the Murim Alliance to come forward. Bailey Seong steps up as the crowd murmurs in shock, recognizing the famed crescent moon sword from the Bailey family. Walking through the parted crowd, Bailey Seong asks what scheme he has in mind, to which Bailey Yun simply replies, "It's not difficult." With a confident smile, Bailey Yun declares his intention to undergo the plagiarism examination right here, open to everyone. Bailey Seong roars in protest, shouting that such examinations are strictly confidential until a ruling is made. However, a Murim Alliance official interjects, reminding him that this gathering was for mediating a dispute, not for the Bailey family to prosecute a new sect. Stepping forward, the official asserts that the alliance must appear fair and that he is now taking the lead. Bailey Yun leaps into the air and asks, "May I begin?" To which Bailey Seong reluctantly agrees. He begins his demonstration, explaining that this is one of his sect's two basic light body arts. In a flash, he becomes a blur of motion. He soars over the heads of the astonished crowd. The official scoffs, asking if that is the technique that supposedly plagiarized the Bailey family's arts, and Bailey Yun confirms it was borrowed from the powers of heaven, earth, and human. As Bailey Yun lands, the official remarks that even he can clearly tell the difference. But Bailey Yun isn't done, adding with a smirk that this technique is also accused of plagiarizing the Namgung family. In fact, he drops a bombshell, claiming that after his own investigation, he's confirmed that all 23 of his sect's basic arts have plagiarized numerous other sects. The official is floored, protesting that this is completely unreasonable. When Bailey Yun asks why, the official points out the obvious flaw. None of the other sects are here to verify the claims. But Bailey Yun just smiles and points, they're here. Suddenly, a man from the powerful Namgung family, identified as Namgui, pushes through the crowd. And he's not alone! Representatives from the Wudang sect, including the famous So Janwol, have also arrived. When the crowd wonders why members of the Heaven-Piercing Division are present, they casually explain they were on a nearby mission and decided to visit their former captain. Namgui begins his testimony, acknowledging the similarities in their techniques. He explains that the Namgung family's limitless art is based on the principle of heaven, earth, and human, the exact same words Bailey Yun used. Then, a Wudang sect representative chimes in, saying they have the same opinion and presents a mysterious box. She opens it to reveal a stack of letters, confirming plagiarism from numerous other sects as well. With a devilish grin, she points out the fatal flaw in the Bailey family's plan. If the Yitian sect is guilty, then so is the Bailey family's own basic martial arts. Nam Gui is stunned, calling the accusation unreasonable, but she throws his words right back at him, reminding everyone that the Bailey family's entire claim is based on the same flimsy logic. A Murim Alliance member panics, realizing she's openly accusing their entire examination team of being unreasonable. As he shouts, the camera reveals a letter from none other than Moyong Hyeon, the current captain of the Heaven-Piercing Division, also confirming an overlap. And Bailey Yun just watches it all unfold with a smug, satisfied smirk. Nam Gui is absolutely livid. He demands to know how Bailey Yun orchestrated this, realizing he must have sent letters detailing his techniques to every major sect in the land. With a calm smile, Bailey Yun declares he's said his piece, and now it's time for the Crescent Moon Sword to answer. He lays out the checkmate. The moment plagiarism is acknowledged, the Bailey family's own arts will be entangled with 23 other sects. He then taunts Bailey Seong, asking, "Is this all you've got?" Bailey Seong snaps. He lunges forward, sword drawn. His disciples scream out in warning, but Bailey Yun is already there, effortlessly blocking the strike and telling them to stay back. With a cold smirk, he tells Bailey Seong that this is a personal matter. Bailey Seong explodes, screaming that no matter what, Bailey Yun is the Bailey family's bloodline, the pillar of their future, and questions why he can't let go of his attachments. He swings his blade down, roaring that Bailey Yun is the one with the lingering attachment, still resenting the family. As Bailey Yun dodges the furious assault, Bailey Seong screams that he understands if his nephew thinks the family is pathetic for not protecting his mother, for not avenging her. And if you're trying to destroy the Bailey family, he roars, "I will!" But Bailey Yun's eyes are ice cold. Their blades meet in a blinding flash of light. The force of the impact sends Bailey Seong skidding backward. As he lands on one knee, Bailey Yun calmly states, "I have no intention of denying my bloodline." He admits that while he once resented them, he's mostly let it go, prompting his uncle to desperately ask why he won't come back. Because as a sect leader, Bailey Yun explains, "I need to become stronger on my own. I'm different now from when I just left." Bailey Seong scoffs, questioning how long a tiny sect can possibly hold out against the pressure of the main family. With a sharp grin, Bailey Yun declares he's ready to handle it any time. Just like he did this time, his uncle is left utterly speechless. The scene flashes back to a happier time at the Bailey family estate. A much younger Bailey Yun is seen sparring with his uncle. The boy is ecstatic, cheering that he finally managed to block one of Bailey Seong's strikes. His uncle playfully challenges him to block the next one too. The memory fades, leaving Bailey Seong kneeling in the present, defeated. Bailey Yun kneels opposite him and speaks, first as the Yitian sect leader, formally declaring that his arts are not plagiarized. Then with a sharp grin, he speaks as a nephew, asking his uncle to wait and promising that one day he will reveal everything. A small, knowing smirk crosses Bailey Seong's face. He rises to his feet, turning to address the crowd. He formally introduces himself and, swearing on his title as the Crescent Moon Sword, begins to make a public declaration. With the weight of his title, Bailey Seong declares that the Yitian sect did not plagiarize the Bailey family's martial arts. The crowd erupts into cheers. Watching from the sidelines, Cheon Gamyong chuckles to himself, thinking he was ready to step in, but Bailey Yun handled everything perfectly. Suddenly, a sharp voice cuts in, telling him to be quiet. It's Gawol, a disciple of the Golden Dragon Trademaster. The scene shifts, and we find Cheon Gamyong speaking with a shadowy figure, describing Bailey Yun's estate as an absurd divine artifact. The figure is revealed to be the leader of the Evil Path Alliance, who grins, admitting Bailey Yun is far more interesting than he'd anticipated. With a final word, the Evil Path Alliance leader dissolves into dark energy and vanishes. Gawol watches him go, her thoughts turning elsewhere. She looks towards the celebrating Yitian sect, thinking to herself that Bailey Yun is her very first business partner. Meanwhile, at the headquarters of the Murim Alliance, back at the Yitian sect, Seo Hua looks on in utter shock, thinking, "This can't be." As Wang Pal sweeps the empty courtyard, he sighs that even 3 days after their grand establishment ceremony, not a single person has come to join. Bailey Yun tries to calm himself, internally reasoning that he shouldn't be upset over something so trivial, but his strained, trembling smile and the system's warning about his unstable heart rate betray his true feelings, prompting Seo Hua to shout, "Sect leader, the brush is breaking!" As Seo Hua ponders their dilemma, explaining that they either need an amazing reputation or to slowly build trust with the local community to attract disciples. She then jokingly suggests sending Wang Pal out to solicit new members. Before a horrified Wang Pal can protest, Bai Yun cuts in with a new plan, telling him to deliver a message to the Haiyun Trading Company instead. He then hands another scroll to a curious Seo Hua, who asks what it is. She unrolls it, her eyes widening as she reads the title, Murim Alliance Training Academy Cooperation Application. Meanwhile, at the Murim Alliance headquarters, the second military advisor receives a report that disciples from Muryan Hall are refusing to participate in the training. Refusal? The second military advisor asks. His subordinate explains they believe the training process for the upcoming graduation competition is unfair. Their core complaint is that the standard for dividing the halls is discriminatory from the start. The academy is split into two factions, Muzhong Hall for the elites from major sects, and Muryan Hall for those from smaller sects and the unaffiliated. The subordinate, now identified as third vice military advisor Gao Hui, notes that while Muryan Hall seems outmatched, they have skilled disciples and can put up a good fight. But the real issue is the overwhelming skill of the Muzhong Hall disciples, who have dominated the martial arts tournaments for 3 years straight. The second military advisor, Zhu Pyong, asks about the Muryan Hall master, and learns he's only pretending to persuade his students while secretly supporting their protest. Gao Hui admits it's an understandable move to save face, before asking his superior what he plans to do. Just then, a carrier pigeon lands on the windowsill. As Gao Hui retrieves the message, Zhu Pyong makes his decision, ordering him to force all the Muryan Hall disciples to participate. He reads the newly arrived letter, his eyes widening, and declares that the training will proceed as scheduled, no matter what. Meanwhile, in the mountains near Hualong County, a young man jolts awake from a nightmare. He sits up in the dark, letting out a frustrated sigh. This is Xianwu Gang, a disciple from Muryan Hall, haunted by a voice asking how long he plans to be a disgrace. Elsewhere, his fellow disciples are gathered around a campfire, with one telling another to bide his time and grow stronger. Later that night, Seon Munchok asks his friend if anything unusual happened. His friend can't sleep, admitting that the current situation with their training is his fault. He confesses that he was the one who incited the protest, believing they've been sent to an unknown sect as punishment for their arrogance. Munchok suggests they can just pressure the sect leader if they don't trust them, but his friend thinks that's going too far. Noticing a figure in the woods, Munchok declares it's time to change shifts so his friend can finally get some sleep. On high alert, the disciples demand to know who's there. Stepping into the firelight, a man with a confident smirk introduces himself as Bai Yun, the Yitian sect leader. He wastes no time, announcing that their entrance examination is starting right now. The rules are simple. The disciples look on in stunned silence. Bai Yun lays out the challenge. If even one of them can reach the Yitian sect's threshold, they all pass. But this declaration enrages Xianwu Gang, who leaps to his feet and orders all Muryan Hall members to prepare for battle. He charges forward in a blur of white energy, a look of pure fury on his face. But the attack ends in an instant, with Xianwu Gang brought to his knees as his comrades cry out his name in shock. Bai Yun smirks, his eyes glowing with power, adding a chilling condition. That's if you can escape from me safely. The scene shifts to the lush mountains near Mount Wudang. Elsewhere, a group of martial artists discuss the Muryan Hall disciples' new training location, a completely unknown sect. One of them, a fiercely confident young woman, dismisses the location as meaningless, a mere political move by the Murim Alliance. She declares that no matter where her rivals are sent, she is determined to win. Her words trigger a painful memory. A small hand reaching out as a figure walks away into the light. A look of sorrow. She remembers desperately calling out for her brother as he ran away down a long, dark hall. He left her alone with nothing but a fallen tassel. Back in the present, that same tassel hangs from her sword as her identity is revealed. She is Bai San, Bai Yun's younger sister, and she's vowed not to lose until she understands why he left. Meanwhile, back at the Yitian sect, Bai Yun grins maniacally as he draws his sword. The Muryan Hall disciples scatter, and Bai Yun casually remarks on their speed. As they rush to help the fallen Xianwu Gang, their fear is palpable. Seon Munchuk confronts him, demanding to know why the sect leader is attacking them. With a smile, Bai Yun calls it his teaching method, explaining he needs to understand them first. Seon Munchuk reminds him of the condition. If just one of them makes it back, they all pass. But then he asks the question they're all thinking, what happens if they fail? Bai Yun explodes into motion, his voice cutting through the night. He declares that if they can't even pass this simple test, there's no point in sending them to any tournaments. Instead, they'll be stuck here until the entire tournament season is over. He continues his threat, promising to tie them up and throw them in a warehouse. He'll give them the worst humiliation a martial artist can experience, being defeated without even a chance to fight. The disciples are horrified. He effortlessly parries their frantic attacks. His calm reflection in their blades mocks their terror. Finding their courage, Xianwu Gang and the others surround him, asking if defeating him here would count as passing the exam. Bai Liyun just smiles. Sure, try me. He even praises their choice, calling it a good decision. Then, in a single explosive movement, he sends them all flying. That is, he finishes with a grin, if your opponent wasn't me. Xianwu Gang is in utter disbelief. The disciples are scattered and broken. Bai Liyun scolds them, asking where their initial momentum went, chiding them for getting flustered so easily. But one disciple lunges forward, only to be caught effortlessly by Bai Liyun, who calls Xianwu Gang's performance frustrating. Suddenly, another disciple attacks from the side. Bai Liyun blocks the strike, and the attacker is revealed to be a disciple named Dan Riyan. Her wooden sword shatters on impact. Bai Liyun gives a sidelong glance. Another disciple joins the fray, and Bai Liyun praises his quick judgment and combat experience. But Bai Liyun easily parries both strikes at once. He thinks to himself, everyone's so flustered that they have too much tension in their bodies. His eyes are cold and analytical. With a flick of his wrist, he sends another disciple flying. They're not utilizing their numerical advantage at all, he observes, completely unimpressed. He singles out their leader, Xianwu Gang, taunting, there's hesitation in your movements. Are you worried I might get hurt? With just that level of skill? He scoffs, before noting that only 3 of them stand out at all. Realizing they need a bigger push, he wonders, then should I provoke them a bit more? He dramatically brushes his hair back, declaring, I'm very disappointed in you all. Just encountering an unexpected opponent turned you into a rabble like this. His words hit their mark as he adds, it seems the rumor about being trapped in a defeatist mindset is true. Spurred into action, one of the disciples grabs Xianwu Gang, telling him to listen carefully. He quickly forms a plan, assigning Xianwu Gang to defense while the 3 of them create an opening, convinced Bai Liyun is only matching their level. But in Xianwu Gang's mind, he's not facing a man, but a towering demonic specter of overwhelming power. The strategist finishes his command, telling Dan Riyan to land the final blow once he creates the chance. Bai Liyun smirks. So you finally decided to try something before vanishing and adding, but it's too late. In an instant, he's upon them, effortlessly parrying their coordinated strike. Xianwu Gang desperately plants his sword, bracing for the impact. But Bai Liyun is a blur, sending another disciple flying with a single powerful kick. The entire formation is shattered in a heartbeat, with students thrown across the clearing. Casually blocking the last remaining attack, Bai Liyun looks down on them with a bored expression. Oh, seems like you've coordinated somewhat. But their plan is useless against his overwhelming speed. He slams his palm to the ground, unleashing a shockwave that sends them all flying. He stands untouched in the eye of the storm. Xianwu Gang can only watch in horror. Grabbing a disciple, Bai Liyun delivers a harsh lesson. Your biggest mistake was complacency. To attack a master assuming I wouldn't get serious, you're ridiculously optimistic. He then launches himself at the next student, who goes down in a single blow. It seems I expected too much from you all. He adds with a sneer, I hoped you'd have at least a shred of talent as martial artists. Standing over the fallen Xianwu Gang, who now glows with a strange red energy, Bai Liyun coldly declares, it's over. It's unfortunate, Bai Liyun says, but a promise is a promise. But on the ground, Xianwu Gang's eyes snap open with furious determination. He explodes upwards, unleashing a desperate slash fueled by a sinister red aura. Bai Liyun's eyes widen in genuine surprise. This is unexpected. It's a familiar martial art. He recognizes the forbidden technique instantly, the evil path arts of the great hero Death Sword. With eyes glowing crimson, Xianwu Gang pours every last ounce of his life force into the attack. Bai Liyun observes with a cold smirk, risking your life just to pass training. He raises his hand, a glint in his eye. Good, your full power, show it to me. As the demonic sword descends, Bai Liyun meets it head-on, blocking the blade with his bare hand. The dark energy shatters, and the force of the impact sends Xianwu Gang flying backward, completely overpowered. With the demonic blade held fast, Bai Yun neutralizes the attack completely. Xian Wugang stares in utter disbelief, his mind reeling from the impossible power gap. The last of the evil energy dissipates, leaving him kneeling and confused. Suddenly, Bai Yun's expression flips to one of manic glee as he thinks, "I want this guy." He looms over the exhausted disciple with a wild grin, taunting, "Is that all you've got?" Overwhelmed, Xian Wugang's consciousness finally gives out. He awakens later in a simple room, groggily asking where he is. A fellow Muryan Hall disciple explains that he's in the Yidian sect, having collapsed from overexertion. But as his memory returns, a horrifying realization dawns on him. He used the Blood Sword sect's forbidden arts right in front of the sect leader, exposing himself as a member of the evil path. He spirals into a panic, realizing he could be executed as an evil path spy. Just then, Xian Munchok calls him for assembly, and Xian Wugang snaps out of it. He wonders if the others have heard anything. Or did he just imagine that the Yidian sect leader recognized his technique? No. Getting dressed, he's certain Bai Yun knew exactly what he was seeing. He recalls how the master identified his sword energy and even named his master the Death Sword. As he walks outside, he sees Bai Yun and wonders, if he knew, why didn't he turn me in? The sect leader greets the disciples with a cheerful smile, but then his eyes slide over to Xian Wugang, and with a chillingly wide grin, he says, "You're here." Xian Wugang is frozen in absolute terror. Ignoring his panic, Bai Yun announces that they've all passed the first exam, noting that more of them remained than he expected. The disciples look around, shocked to realize that out of 15, only 5 of them are left. The survivors are introduced: Oh Ryong, Yunjin, Tenryun, Seo Munchok, and of course the deeply unsettled Xian Wugang. Bai Yun lays out their new schedule. For 2 weeks, they will spar daily with his disciples and spend the rest of their time researching techniques. Seo Hua cheerfully begins distributing the wooden training weapons, starting with a spear for Seo Munchok. She offers weapons to the rest of the group, who look on with a mix of apprehension and curiosity. Seo Hua then formally introduces herself as their new sparring partner. Bai Yun watches with a satisfied grin, telling them all to get along. The cheerful Wang Pal introduces himself next, but Seo Munchok cuts the pleasantries short, eager to get straight to the sparring. Seo Hua happily agrees. In fact, she ups the ante with a shocking proposal. All 5 of them can take on her and Wang Pal at once. The Muryan Hall disciples are taken aback by her confidence, but Wang Pal is all for it. With a sparkling smile, Bai Yun gives his enthusiastic approval. Xian Munchok is insulted by their overconfidence. His pride on the line, he tells his comrades to stay back, declaring he'll handle this alone. As Bai Yun gives the signal to begin, Xian Munchok grits his teeth, determined to uphold the honor of Muryan Hall. Dan Rion agrees, shouting that they won't lose to some unknown sect. Xian Munchok lunges forward, aiming for a swift victory, but his strike is met and easily stopped by Seo Hua. He presses the attack, unleashing a furious combination. He leaps, bringing his staff down in a powerful overhead blow. But with a single devastating counter, Seo Hua shatters his weapon completely. Her eyes are cold and focused, utterly unimpressed. Xian Munchok is in utter disbelief. He stares at the shattered remains of his staff, still crackling with Seo Hua's energy. "What is this?" he screams, completely stunned by her power. But Seo Hua just gives him a cheerful smile, saying, "It'll hurt a bit, so bear with it." And before he can react, she unleashes a devastating palm strike. His comrades can only watch in horror, screaming his name. With one opponent down, Seo Hua turns to the remaining 4. "Now, the rest of you," she declares, "come at me all at once." Taking offense, the disciple Yunjin leaps forward, shouting, "I'm not the rest, I'm Yunjin," as he throws a punch. But as Seo Hua effortlessly blocks his strike, he stops, genuinely impressed. "Oh, your defensive stance is quite excellent," he says calmly. "You've trained hard." Caught completely off guard by the sudden compliment, Seo Hua can only blush and stammer out a thank you. Snapping back to the fight, Yunjin presses his advantage, roaring, "But you won't block this easily!" Suddenly, a massive figure slams down between them. It's Wang Pal, catching the blow with a thunderous clap. His grip is like iron. With a cheerful grin, Wang Pal declares, "I'll be your opponent from now on." He effortlessly holds the line. Seeing this, the other trainees realize they can't hold back. "We acknowledge you're strong," they shout. "So from now on, we'll use our full power too." The remaining disciples launch a coordinated assault from all sides. but Seo Hua and Wang Pao move in perfect sync, parrying every single blow. The trainees are shocked. Their opponents are blocking all of their attacks. The humiliation is too much for Xian Wu Gang, and a sinister red aura begins to leak from his body. "Damn it!" he seethes, struggling against unknown sect members. And from the sidelines, Bai Liyun watches with a cold, calculating gaze. Losing control, Xian Wu Gang unleashes a vicious strike fueled by his sinister red energy. Seo Hua is stunned by the sudden surge of power, but Wang Pao moves to intercept, swinging his own weapon with a roar. Dan Riyan watches in disbelief. What? With a powerful swing, Wang Pao's rope dart wraps around her and sends her flying. He doesn't stop there, immediately targeting the next disciple. The trainee cries out as the powerful blow lands. In a flash, the Muryan Hall disciples are all down, except for one. Seo Hua calmly states, "Now, you're the only one left. The match seems already decided." She looks directly at Yunjin. "Will you continue?" Yunjin grips his weapon, his resolve unbroken. The final confrontation begins. Yunjin is in utter disbelief. This can't be. He looks at his 4 fallen comrades, realizing the sheer gap in power. Watching from the sidelines, Bai Liyun smiles. It seems things are settling down now. He then decides to add the ultimate insult to their injury, casually mentioning, "By the way, Seo Hua here has been learning martial arts for about a month." The trainees erupt in shock while Seo Hua hits them with a playful wink. Xian Wu Gang is completely stunned, wondering what insane training could build such power so quickly. With the sparring over, Bai Liyun begins his lecture, telling them they need to learn how to coordinate their attacks. He twists the knife, reminding them that this very weakness is why they've lost to their rivals for 3 years straight. The solution, he explains, is to build trust in themselves and in their comrades. And with that brutal lesson delivered, Bai Liyun concludes the day's training. But as the others are dismissed, Bai Liyun singles one of them out. "And Xian Wu Gang, you stay behind." The young disciple freezes, nervously asking what he wants. As his comrades walk away, Xian Wu is left completely alone with the enigmatic sect leader. The grounds fall silent. Suddenly, a system notification appears, initiating a soundproof mode around the training grounds. A shimmering barrier of light envelops them, ensuring their conversation remains private. Bai Liyun smirks, impressed. "Oh, you're quite perceptive." His smile turns sharp. "Now, shall we have the conversation we didn't finish?" Xian Wu Gang's face pales with dawning horror. And then Bai Liyun drops the bombshell, his voice echoing with the authority of his past. "Let's talk about why the young sect leader of the Blood Sword sect, a pillar of the evil path, is working as a Muryan Hall disciple." Bai Liyun's eyes glow with a chilling light as he delivers a final, terrifying ultimatum. "If you can't provide a valid answer..." Xian Wu Gang is paralyzed. You must be prepared for the consequences. His aura explodes with pressure, pinning the young spy to the ground as he demands, "Answer me." He repeats the question that has shattered Xian Wu's entire cover. Xian Wu's mind races, his hands trembling as he grips his sword. His only thought is escape. He makes a break for it, but slams into an invisible wall of energy. A voice cuts through his panic from right behind him. "You don't think you can escape, do you? You don't have that option." Bai Liyun's voice thunders, "Now answer me, Xian Wu Gang," leaving the terrified spy with nowhere left to run. As Bai Liyun's pressure bears down, Xian Wu's mind shatters, throwing him into a traumatic memory of his master, the Death Sword. Forced to his knees, his master roars, furious not that Xian Wu won but that he showed mercy. He screams that as the young sect leader of the evil path, Xian Wu's weakness is a disgrace. Pure terror fills his eyes. To prove his worth, the Death Sword gives him an unthinkable mission: infiltrate the Muram Alliance and murder his own junior disciple. When Xian Wu questions the order, his master bellows that this cruelty is the evil path and that his mercy is a liability that will get thousands killed. He then traps the young boy completely, threatening to have his junior kill him instead, or to kill the junior himself if Xian Wu tries to run or take his own life. The Death Sword lays out the grim future he has planned. Xian Wu must one day kill him to inherit the sect, or everyone he knows will die. With a blade to his neck and no way out, the young Xian Wu finally breaks, whispering, "I will obey." With his spirit crushed, the young Xian Wu makes a vow. He will infiltrate the Muram Alliance, kill his junior, and return. But even then, a desperate plan was forming in his mind. If he could just get away from his master's watchful eye. He could finally escape. Snapping back to the present, Xian Wu unleashes that same desperate energy, lunging at Bai Liyun with the full power of the Blood Sword sect. But Bai Liyun is completely unfazed, calmly noting that while it's a good decision, Xian Wu still sucks at gauging an opponent's strength. He goads him further, demanding to see his true skills. "What are you planning to do with me?" Xian Wu screams, completely bewildered. Effortlessly dodging, Bai Liyun reframes the entire situation. "Didn't you come here to train? Your orthodox skills were holding you back anyway." He then offers a twisted form of encouragement, suggesting that if Xian Wu uses his true power, the training will be much easier. With a flash of his blade, Bai Liyun launches a blistering attack, challenging Xian Wu to prove his worth. Xian Wu realizes with dawning horror that this is nothing like the entrance exam. The killing intent is real. If he's not careful, he'll die. So he unleashes his true power, channeling the forbidden blood sword arts. But Bai Liyun blocks the blood-soaked blade with his bare arm. With a condescending smirk, he notes that while this is an improvement, Xian Wu's fundamental nature just isn't suited for the evil path. "What do you mean by that?" Xian Wu demands, completely lost. Bai Liyun explains as he lands a devastating palm strike. Xian Wu doesn't have the ruthless mindset required for a true killing sword. The words trigger another memory of his master, the Death Sword, screaming that absolute destruction is the evil path. Staggering back, Xian Wu glares at Bai Liyun, screaming, "What do you know about any of this?" Bai Liyun continues his cold deconstruction, stating, "You lack fighting spirit." Xian Wu snaps, lunging forward as he screams, "What do you know about me to talk like that?" His rage is met with a brutal, indifferent punch to the face. As Xian Wu stumbles, Bai Liyun looms over him. He then asks a question that cuts deeper than any blade. "What is the true meaning you pursue?" Xian Wu spits back the nihilistic philosophy beaten into him. "It's all about killing and dying. What does true meaning matter?" A wild grin spreads across Bai Liyun's face as his own energy crackles to life. "Then why do you hold a sword?" The question hangs in the air, pushing Xian Wu to his very core. His hand tightens on his hilt as the sinister energy of the blood sword art erupts. "The reason I hold a sword is..." He unleashes his full power, his blood-red blade clashing violently against Bai Liyun's. A cataclysmic explosion of power erupts as Bai Liyun's lightning shatters Xian Wu's blood-red aura. The sheer force sends Xian Wu stumbling back, but he refuses to fall. Forced to a knee, he finally finds his voice, his true voice. He looks up at his new master and declares, "I have a reason why I must build strength." A memory surfaces, the memory of his father. He wasn't a great warrior, but he was an honorable man who would stand his ground, even if the world called it a dog's death. And Xian Wu was forced to watch as that honorable man was cut down. His father's death was a profound injustice, but as a child he was utterly powerless. He knew that blind rage would only lead to his own death. And in that moment of despair, a new purpose was forged in blood. "So I must become strong. I must survive desperately." But in his single-minded obsession with wielding the sword for strength, he lost himself, becoming the Blood Sword sect's young leader, not his father's son. Back in the present, Bai Liyun looks down at the broken young man and asks, "Do you regret those past days?" Xian Wu, still on the ground, can only answer, "I don't know." Then the truth spills out in a raw, desperate cry. "I just wanted to protect my father's honor. To prove his death wasn't that of a coward, but of a martial artist braver than anyone." The memory of a loving father clashes with the present anguish. "To prove that I am Xian Wu Yang's bloodline and inherit that man's will." Finally spent, Xian Wu bows his head to the ground. "I feel like I've lost my way." He looks up, ready to accept his fate. "Kill me or report me, do as you please, but the other disciples are not involved. I infiltrated alone." Bai Liyun takes in the confession, his expression unreadable. "I see." He suddenly grabs Xian Wu's head, his eyes blazing with intensity. "You fight to protect," and then slams his face straight into the dirt. As Xian Wu staggers back in shock, Bai Liyun commands him, "Stand up." A faint, knowing smile appears as he admits, "Looking at you reminds me of myself as a young boy blinded by revenge." He reveals that when he first left his family, he too had to completely remodel his martial arts to survive. Instead of punishment, Bai Liyun makes an unbelievable offer. He will personally help Xian Wu fix his corrupted techniques. He brushes off the infiltration, his mind already on a much bigger game involving the arrival of a disciple from one of the great families. The terms are harsh. For 2 weeks, he will tear apart Xianwu's foundations, forcing him to forget everything he is. "Can you trust me and follow?" Baileyun asks. With his head bowed, Xianwu has only one question. "Can I become stronger than I am now?" Baileyun smiles confidently. "Don't worry," he promises. "That's my role." Elsewhere, at the prestigious Mujong Hall, 2 elders observe the next generation of martial artists in training. One remarks that this year's disciples are so talented, the various division leaders are already competing to recruit them. But the senior official, the legendary Sword Saint Wei Jihak, reveals a shocking development. The Evil Path Alliance leader has proposed a bet on the competition. The sinister leader has wagered on Muryan Hall's victory, and if he wins, he demands a single favor from the Murim Alliance. The prize if he loses? The Evil Path will cease all expansion and attacks for 1 entire year. His subordinate realizes it's an offer they can't possibly refuse, as a year of peace would allow them to regroup from a position of weakness. The Sword Saint's eyes gleam with resolve. "Let's raise the stakes," he declares. Mujong Hall must not lose. To guarantee their victory, he's bringing in a new instructor for the competition. A legendary senior from Wudong, hailed as both the greatest swordsman of the next generation and their current top prodigy. Meanwhile, the legendary Wudong prodigy makes his grand entrance. With a confident smirk, he mentions a name he hasn't heard in a long time. Baileyun. But while the great powers make their moves, life at the Yirian sect is a little less glamorous. Wang Pao complains that sparring 2 against 5 every single day is brutal, even for them. Just then, Baileyun appears, asking if they're tired already. He offers them a reward for their hard work. The challenge is simple. If they can win 8 out of 15 sparring matches against the Muryan Hall trainees, he'll take them to a master blacksmith who forged his own sword. Suddenly, all their fatigue vanishes. Seo Hua is a little confused by the offer. But Baileyun clarifies, he's going to have custom signature weapons made just for them. Seo Hua is absolutely ecstatic, screaming that she'll definitely do it. The next day, the sparring is on another level. A Muryan disciple is stunned, asking how Seo Hua countered a technique he just showed her, but she coolly replies that a previous one was even harder. He notes that while she was always good at reading techniques, she's especially energetic today, and she simply replies, "We have motivation now." Meanwhile, Xianwu Gang's special training is a bit different. Tied to a massive rock, he screams in frustration as Baileyun berates him for failing the simple order to do nothing. Baileyun muses that he can't just waste time, slapping a talisman onto the rock. A powerful energy surges through Xianwu as Baileyun explains this is a prison shackle, a tool once used to transport captured demon leaders. He smirks, telling Xianwu that any attempt to move or use his evil path arts will cause the shackle to constrict. The only way out is to escape without using his body. But this special attention hasn't gone unnoticed. Seon Munchok storms up to Baileyun, demanding to know if he's giving Xianwu special treatment. Yunjin chimes in, suspiciously asking if the sect leader only favors certain people. Caught completely off guard, Baileyun stammers, trying to play it cool and telling them not to worry. Ignoring their complaints, Baileyun simply tells them to get back to sparring and prove how much they've improved. Then he turns to the bound Xianwu, telling him to watch his comrades and consider why he's been ordered to do nothing. The sparring match erupts once more. Xian Munchok realizes his spear is useless. Seo Hua closes the distance instantly, never giving him the space he needs to attack. So if the spear's range is the problem, he abandons it, lashing out with a powerful kick. Watching from the sidelines, Seonwoo is stunned. Munchok, who only ever relied on his spear, has developed a new striking technique. Even Seo Hua is caught off guard, but she quickly realizes this wasn't a mistake. It was an adaptation. Baileyun's voice cuts through Seonwoo's thoughts. Do you see your comrades' growth? He points out how much they've all improved in such a short amount of time. He then twists the knife, asking if Seonwoo is itching to join them, afraid of being left behind. Munchok uses his spear not as a weapon, but as a pivot to launch himself forward. He's had a realization. He must learn to use his own body like a spear. He swings with a whole new level of focus and power. Seonwoo finally snaps, screaming to be released, but Baileyun's voice cuts in, I told you not to move. He explains that while Munchok is forging his own path from experience, Seonwoo is merely copying the Death Sword's techniques. Then what am I supposed to do? Seonwoo demands. Bailey Yun reveals the purpose of the shackle, to break habits you can't fix with physical movement. The lesson begins. If you can't fix your body's habits, you need to fix your internal energy's habits. Xianwu realizes he means his meridians. Bailey Yun confirms. The others are just finding new techniques. Xianwu must go deeper and tear out his existing internal energy. He explains that of the body's 365 meridian points, martial artists only use about 70. Xianwu's answer lies in the ones left dormant. Find new meridians and pour your internal energy into them. With a guttural roar, Xianwu begins the agonizing process of forging a new path from within. Don't get ahead of yourself, Bailey Yun roars, warning that if the mutated energy consumes him, he'll lose his Dantian forever. The other trainees stop dead in their tracks, staring in disbelief. What kind of training is that? Dark, corrupted energy explodes from Xianwu's body as he screams, his eyes glowing a malevolent red. As Xian Munchok rushes forward, Bailey Yun blocks his path. Don't come! This is a battle he must win himself! Gritting his teeth, Xianwu refuses to yield. I can't give up. I can't go back to that terrible past. He focuses his will, beginning the dangerous process, empty the old meridians, purify the corrupted energy, and force it out. He lets out a final, soul-shattering scream, and then collapses, utterly spent. Bailey Yun approaches with a knowing smirk. Are you okay, Xianwu gang? But before Xianwu can answer, the massive rock he was bound to erupts into the sky, shattering from the sheer force of his breakthrough. Bailey Yun catches the collapsing boy. So you finally emptied the blood sword sex martial arts. He grins. Congratulations on becoming a blank slate. But a fire still burns in Xianwu's eyes. A blank slate? Then you have to train me too. I can't be the only one left behind. As the other trainees rush over, Bailey Yun encourages him, yes, fill that blank slate with your own way of the sword. And for the first time, Xianwu is swarmed not by enemies but by comrades. But elsewhere, a far darker scene unfolds. Two figures from the Muram Alliance investigate a desiccated corpse. You really squeezed him dry, Namgung Wu remarks. Shut up, his partner snaps back. Namgung Wu examines the body. The wound, the method of draining the blood, it matches the killer we've been chasing. His partner finds the trail has gone cold. We lost him again. Namgung Wu theorizes, there's no pattern to the victims. The method is too crude for the evil path. It could be a pleasure killer, but the most likely possibility is a great monster. His partner continues, the damage is too small, but he's intelligent, leaving no traces. Should we call for backup? But the new captain of the Heaven-Piercing Division, Moyoung Hayayan, makes the call. We can't wait, we chase. Any objections? Namgung Wu grins. When a superior says go, you go. Though he immediately has second thoughts. Then again, this is how most people die. Maybe I should get some insurance. He pulls out a communication talisman. A quick message just in case. A contact for the master of the Heavenly Gate, if they're gone for over a month. Back at the Yitian sect, Bailey Yun looks into the distance. I'm getting a bad feeling this is going to be a hassle. 2 weeks pass. The disciples have been training relentlessly. Bailey Yun addresses them. Though one idiot still hasn't found his own sword path, you've all definitely improved. And since Seo Hua and Wang Pao kept their promise of 8 victories, it's time we go get those signature weapons made. You should all be proud. At this rate, I'm confident you'll handle the second phase of training just fine. They look up eagerly as he announces, now for the second training, with a demonic grin he declares, you're going to kill each other. Meanwhile, at the Muram Alliance, the second military advisor receives a grim report. Sir, are you aware of the sudden increase in missing persons cases in this area and the Hunan region? The victims are all found the same way, carotid arteries severed and completely drained of blood, and they're mostly civilians. The subordinate concludes it must be a serial killer or a monster, prompting Zhu Gipyong to ask, and what's the Alliance's response? He's informed that Namgung Wu and Chonghe have been dispatched to Hunan, while the Fierce Tiger Brigade handles Hubei. Zhu Gipyong recalls their recent visit. Ah, so that's why they were here. If it's those two on the case, I'm not worried. Chionghe's raw power combined with Namgung Wu's improvisation makes them one of the best teams in the Heaven-Piercing Division. His subordinate is relieved. But for Captain Moyoung Hyeon, The case dredges up a dark memory of a monstrous, shadowy figure. Meanwhile, at Alliance headquarters, Gal Hui asks Zhu Gepyong about the high-stakes bet with the evil path. Back at the Yitian sect, Bai Li Yun's special training is in full swing, and he's effortlessly toying with the Muryan Hall disciples. He casually sits down as one of them scrambles to hide, taunting, "Hiding all by yourself." When they question his methods, he drops a bombshell, revealing a title from his past, the White Sword Dragon. The disciples are stunned, realizing the legendary White Sword Dragon was none other than a captain of the Heaven-Piercing Division. Any lingering doubt they had vanishes, replaced by pure, unadulterated hero worship. But Bai Li Yun brushes it off, saying that's all in the past, while internally noting they'd been doubting him until now. After a month of brutal training, he gathers the 5 survivors and praises their hard work, suggesting it's finally time for a rest. But they roar back that they can keep going, prompting an exasperated Bai Li Yun to shout, "Shut up and listen, you wild kids!" Yunjin points out that no matter how hard they train, they feel perfectly fine the next day, with their wounds healing at an impossible rate. Bai Li Yun knows why. The system grants a recovery enhancement to all registered disciples. But he tells them that rest is still necessary, as mental fatigue is just as draining as physical exhaustion. He suggests they take a trip to the famous Yueyang Tower at Dongting Lake. The disciples cheer, thrilled at the prospect of a day off, but Bai Li Yun isn't finished. With a chilling glare, he warns them that as temporary Yitian sect members, any trouble they cause will result in them crawling to the Murim Alliance. Terrified, they quickly promise to behave. Soon after, the group arrives at the beautiful Dongting Lake, wishing Seo Hua and Wang Pao were with them. Excited for their day of freedom, they decide to find a place to eat before heading to the tower. But their plans immediately hit a wall. There are no seats available. A waiter explains that while the first 2 floors are full, the 3rd floor is reserved exclusively for great heroes. Hearing the outrageous price, Sion Munchuk throws a fit, yelling that it's unacceptable as Yunjin tries to drag him away. Just as Yunjin suggests they find another place, a calm voice offers to treat them instead. A mysterious woman in a conical hat sits before them, stating her one condition is to hear about a man teaching small heroes. She removes her hat, revealing a beautiful face and sharp eyes, and asks them directly to tell her about Bai Li Yun. The disciples are immediately suspicious, with Sean Wugang demanding to know who she is. The woman's thoughts drift back to when she first heard about Bai Li Yun from Cheon Gamyong, the Golden Dragon Trade Master, and thought it was nonsense. She recalls his initial assessment, that Bai Li Yun was an interesting person, but too impulsive and untrustworthy for important matters. However, her own first impression of him at the Yitian sect's establishment ceremony was quite different. She remembers him looking utterly impressive and in command. She recalls wanting to meet Bai Li Yun with an equally strong first impression. Just as Cheon Gamyong opened a fabric shop to meet him on equal footing, she planned to use her own tailoring skills, expecting a summons from the trade master. She was confident. She was patiently laying the groundwork, but to her utter disbelief, she never received a single word from him. Back in the present, she's completely flustered by the memory. As the disciples warm up to her over drinks, Xian Wugang admits he was initially suspicious, thinking she was a spy for the Evil Path Alliance. She laughs it off, saying she's used to being misunderstood. Getting to the point, she asks if Bai Li Yun ever mentioned her, only for Xian Wu to awkwardly confess. He probably forgot. The woman forces a laugh, completely mortified, as Xian Munchok throttles the tactless Xian Wugang. The other disciples quickly try to smooth things over, explaining how busy Bai Li Yun is. They mention the enormous pressure he's under from the bet with the Evil Path Alliance. Seeing their clueless expressions, she realizes they don't know the details. She explains that the 2 alliances have stopped all disputes for the competition, with the leaders betting on the outcome. The Evil Path Alliance leader bet on Muryan Hall's victory, while the Murim Alliance bet on Mujong Hall. Seon Munchok slams the table in confusion, but she clarifies the stakes. If the Evil Path loses, they stop all attacks for a year. But, she says with a sly smile, if they win, their leader gets one small favor, making it a bet the Murim Alliance couldn't refuse. The disciples' faces fall as she delivers the chilling truth. The entire Murim Alliance is hoping for their defeat, because you've all become the Evil Path's betting chip. Sion Munchok grits his teeth, realizing they're nothing more than disposable pawns. Enraged, Dan Riyan slams the table, ready to confront the Alliance, but the woman tells her to think about her teacher. He and I have nothing to lose, she says, but you are part of a sect under the Murim Alliance. She argues that losing would bring them compensation without damaging their honor, but Dan Ryan glares in disbelief. Bailey Yun finally speaks, his voice cutting through the tension. Since you have nothing to lose, you just win. And since we have things to lose, he asks, should we just lose half-heartedly? Seon Munchuk's eyes widen in agreement. Yes, that's right. His simple answer earns him a furious glare from Dan Ryan. Do you want to die? The mysterious woman slams her hand down, demanding they stop fighting. But Seon Woo Gang turns his intense gaze on Bailey Yun. You knew about this, didn't you? What are you thinking? Seon Woo demands to know his plan, and Bailey Yun calmly acknowledges the pressure from the Murim alliance will continue. But, he says with a warm smile, I don't follow adult politics. Once you come to me, you're my children. This sends Cheon Gamyong into a full-blown panic, realizing Bailey Yun intends to directly oppose the alliance and is trying to drag him into it. Bailey Yun just waves it off. He then drops a bombshell, telling Cheon Gamyong to just get permission from the person behind him, revealing he's known all along that the trademaster isn't the one truly in charge. Before Cheon Gamyong can respond, a man rushes in with urgent news. Both the Murim and Evil Path alliances are gathering nearby. Bailey Yun grins, wondering if a war is breaking out, but the man clarifies with terror in his voice. It's monsters! His expression finally turns serious as the man shouts that 100 ghosts are heading for Dongting Lake. In the nearby forest, something stirs, and a horrifying, red-eyed beast tears into a victim, revealing the true nature of the threat. The messenger explains this phenomenon is a monster territory, a domain that forms when a regular monster evolves into a great monster. While the territory itself is safe if you don't enter, the real danger is that lesser monsters are drawn to a newly born great monster, and their destination is always the same, wherever people are. This terrifying horde is known as the 100 Ghosts Night Parade. He reports that this parade is heading straight for Dongting Lake, with an estimated force of 250 monsters. Bailey Yun's expression hardens as he learns that a month ago, his old comrades Cheongha and Namgung Woo went missing while investigating this very case. Without a moment's hesitation, Bailey Yun leaps into action, heading straight for the source at Bai Mountain. He dismisses Cheon Gamyong's concern for the Muryan Hall disciples, stating they have no obligation to fight and are considered protected targets who will be sent back safely. His true priority is singular. Kill the great monster before it can absorb all its demonic power and become unstoppable. Because if they fail, the area will become hell. A fate Moyong Hyeon has faced before, as a dark memory reveals the great monster taunting her in the past. An ominous glow spreads across the night sky, heralding the coming disaster. Meanwhile, the Muryan Hall disciples are fired up, demanding to confront Bailey Yun about being used as disposable pawns by the Murim Alliance. They need to know what he really thinks. But before they can move, a figure bursts into the room. He lands with a flash of energy, surprising everyone. He introduces himself as Gwang Yeon, the Murim Alliance's Yueyang branch chief. He wastes no time, announcing that the 100 Ghost Night Parade is heading straight for them. He orders them to evacuate immediately, declaring the area will soon become a battlefield. Dan Ryan fires back, accusing him of telling them to run, but Gwangyeon coldly corrects her. It's a withdrawal, as they are top priority protected targets. He pulls rank, barking that this is an order. He scoffs at their presence, declaring that greenhorns like them aren't needed here. He won't hear any objections, pulling rank and demanding to know if a superior needs a reason to give an order. The disciples fall silent, but Seonwoo Gang's eyes narrow. Something is strange. The branch chief isn't just firm, he's dangerously impatient. With a final command to return, Gwangyeon declares their break is over and leaps away. As he vanishes, the disciples are left in chaos. Seon Munchok voices what they're all thinking. It seems like the branch chief is deceiving us. He connects the dots, realizing Gwangyeon's order to return to their training location means one thing. The chief already knows the alliance's defensive line will be breached. Yunjin questions him, but Seon Munchok explains the grim logic. Gwangyeon is assuming the major sects can't come, which is why he's sending the top priority disciples to a specific location. Yunjin insists they should follow orders, but Dan Ryan snaps at Seon Munchok, demanding to know why he's acting this way. Seon Munchok's face is set with grim determination. If we run away now, he says, all the people here will die. He reminds them of Bailey Yun's words, that they are temporarily members of the Yitian sect. Would a disciple of the Yitian sect abandon people and run? His words galvanize them. Xianwu Gang immediately takes charge, barking out orders for the team to assess the enemy and prepare for an interception. With their resolve hardened, Xianwu Gang declares their new mission. From now on, we hunt the 100 Ghosts Night Parade. But as they march off, a mysterious blonde woman watches them go, wistfully noting that they seem to have forgotten her. Elsewhere, Bai Liyun travels alone through the corrupted forest, recalling that the first lesson he ever taught his division was survival and escape. He knows time is short for his missing comrades, Namgung Wu and Cheongha, and observes that the monster's territorial erosion is progressing rapidly. A bad feeling urges him to act fast, and he draws his glowing blue sword. "Come out now!" he bellows, and the great monster answers his challenge with a terrifying roar. But he's not alone. Hiding nearby, a young woman with twin buns complains that the monster is getting excited, while her companion agrees they should have finished it before it fully awakened. The stern man chides her for wasting her strength, but she snaps back that she still has enough power left to kill him. She fumes that they had the creature trapped until that person appeared, but her partner quickly silences her. Because their target is coming, and the great monster looms over them, ready to strike. The young woman with twin buns explodes from their hiding spot, daggers glowing as she shouts, "Were you looking for us, you small fry?" But her attack is cut short, as the great monster snatches her right out of the air. Before it can crush her, the stern man flashes in and slices through the monster's arm, forcing it to release his partner. He lands, relieved the hit connected, and quickly asks if she's all right. But she can only scream a desperate warning. "You fool, look ahead!" "Too late!" The monster's fist smashes down, sending the man flying like a rag doll. He hits the ground hard, coughing up blood. As the monster looms over him, the woman screams his name in terror. "Namgung Wu!" But just as the final blow is about to land, a white blur streaks across the battlefield. With a single, blindingly fast slash, Bai Liyun severs the great monster's entire arm. Bai Liyun stands over the severed limb, his sword still humming with power. "Fortunately," he says with a grin, "you saved me the trouble of looking for you." The young woman with twin buns clings to his arm in relief as Namgung Wu weakly calls out, "Captain," but Bai Liyun just smirks. "Call me Yitian sect leader, you fools." Namgung Wu, still on the ground, manages a weak joke. "Took you long enough to get here?" Bai Liyun scoffs. "I've been busy. Besides, I didn't think I'd still have to clean up after you guys." Namgung Wu just coughs, the reality of his injuries setting in. The great monster lets out a deafening roar of pure agony and rage. Its red eyes burn with hatred, but Bai Liyun is already analyzing the situation. "This is strange," he thinks. "Even for a great monster, it shouldn't have been too much for these two to handle." The one-armed beast lunges forward undeterred, and then to everyone's shock, it speaks. "Foolish one." It unleashes a massive, overwhelming torrent of dark purple energy, threatening to swallow Bai Liyun whole. But Bai Liyun stands his ground, sword crackling with lightning as he roars, "Come!" The dark energy coalesces, revealing its true master, a sinister, elegant woman with a knowing smirk. His composure shatters as he recognizes her. "What brings you here?" she purrs, and he screams her name in pure rage. "Black Knight!" A memory flashes back, a younger Bai Liyun, broken and bleeding. He kneels amidst a field of corpses, watching a woman walk away. "Heron!" he cries out. "How could you do this?" In the past, he was helpless, his body paralyzed by her dark power. A flash of another horrific memory, the monster's true terrifying form overwhelming a victim. Back in the present, the great monster taunts him. "I still remember how you killed our friend 10 years ago and ran away." Bai Liyun grimly confirms. "Yeah, that's right." He realizes who he's facing. The legendary ruler of Sinseon Valley, one of the 3 great monster territories who once destroyed half the imperial palace. "I thought you were sealed away?" But as he analyzes her presence, a thought crosses his mind. Is this just a projection? Black Knight smirks, unfazed by his deduction. She speaks through her monstrous puppet. "I've already sent away any interfering pests." Bai Liyun scoffs. "You saved that thing? Impressive. I didn't know monsters cared for each other, but you're not really interested in hunting down minor creatures, are you?" With a chilling grin, he declares his intentions. "True, but I have a score to settle with that monster, right after I deal with you." "You speak as if you could kill me," she mocks. But as Bai Liyun's power surges, he snarls, 10 years is a long time. I'll make sure you never crawl out again. His eyes crackle with lightning. Luckily, he smirks, there aren't any other strong monsters around. Meanwhile, the disciples are carving their way through the horde. Don't get comfortable yet, Xian Wu Gang, one shouts from atop a fallen beast. This is easier than expected. As they cut down monster after monster, one of them wonders why it's so easy, but Xian Munchuk roars the answer. Have you forgotten what we've been doing for the past 15 days? While one disciple sheepishly admits he did nothing, Xian Munchok is on a roll yelling, the point is what came next. After that, we spend every waking moment in a state of constant battle. He reminds them of their hellish training, always looking for openings, hiding their presence, and exploiting weaknesses, just like they're doing now. In just 1 month, they've grown so much. He can't help but wonder, did their sect leader predict all of this? Xian Wu Gang feels it too. He's holding back, terrified of slipping into his old bloodsword techniques, but the feeling just makes him want to get even stronger. As he cuts down another beast, Xian Munchuk asks him a serious question. Xian Wu Gang, if we survive this, what will you do next? Xian Wu looks back. If we beat these monsters and make it to the tournament, do we actually have to win? Xian Munchuk is taken aback, but Xian Wu explains, you told Orion to follow the Alliance's orders. I just thought that was something we shouldn't forget. He grins. But if we have to go back without even getting to use what we've learned, wouldn't we be frustrated out of our minds? Xian Munchok smirks in agreement, just as Xian Wu Gang roars, you lot! Stop idling and keep moving forward! Xian Munchok backs him up instantly, shouting, for now, focus on the enemy right in front of you. Yunjin takes point, his voice ringing out with grim determination. All right, we survive first. All Muryan Hall disciples, together. Meanwhile, the Murim Alliance's main defensive line braces for the Horde's arrival, shouting, they're finally here. Our job is to hold out as long as we can until backup arrives. Their commander rallies them, don't be afraid, monsters feed on fear and anxiety. Another warrior screams, if you're here, it means there's something you'd risk your life to protect. But as they engage the first wave, they notice something is off. The 100 Ghosts Night Parade was delayed, and their movement is chaotic and strange. It's not an attack, it's a stampede. It's like they're being chased by something. The monsters are fleeing in absolute terror. And then the Alliance fighters see why as a single devastating projectile rips through the Horde. A spear? The commander turns, his eyes widening as he recognizes the newcomers. That looks like a face I recognize. Didn't you get told to run? But another warrior shouts back defiantly, they said it's better off without rookies like us. I heard that too. Xian Munchuk roars back at the commander. Then why are you still here? The disciples don't wait for an answer, immediately joining the fray. Xian Wu Gang steps forward, his voice ringing with conviction. Because before we're Muryan Hall disciples, we're martial artists first. The commander takes in their unwavering resolve. He makes a decision. 1/4 hour left. Hold the line until reinforcements arrive. I'll punish you for desertion later. With a unified roar, they answer the call to arms. Yes, sir! But the battle is brutal, and a monster's claw rips through a warrior's shoulder. Suddenly, larger, more powerful monsters break through the lines, roaring about the strength of their prey. They're overwhelmed in an instant, warriors getting grabbed and crushed. The remaining fighters desperately try to hold their ground against the sudden, ferocious assault. A warrior rushes to his commander's side, but the man can only gasp out a single word. Run! Nee, that monster isn't your opponent, he cries as the beast raises its claw for the final blow. But just in time, the Muryan disciples arrive. We're here to help, Xian Munchuk yells as Xian Wu Gang shouts a warning. Duck! With a single sweeping strike, Xian Wu carves through the horde. But as another monster descends, Xian Munchuk steels himself, declaring they can't be the only ones to escape. Yunjin spots the danger from above. SEO Munchuk, be careful! The claw descends, and he can only watch in horror. But at the last second, Xian Wu Gang intercepts the attack, saving his comrade's life. As he fights, Bai Liyun's words echo in his mind. A stark warning not to use his old bloodsword techniques, or risk corrupting himself all over again. But Xian Wu Gang grits his teeth, making a decision. No, this isn't a situation where I can hide my power. I won't just let you die. He unleashes a brilliant golden sword art, carving through the elite monster. The beast is bisected instantly. As Xian Wu lands, Xian Munchok stares in disbelief. Xian Wu Gang? His eyes are fixed on the blade. That sword? It's no longer the crimson of the blood sword, but a pure, radiant gold. He remembers Bai Li Yun's words, promising that he would find his own way of the sword. A bright, relieved smile spreads across his face as he thinks of his master. Sect leader. But elsewhere on the battlefield, a new, powerful figure appears. A mysterious, fox-tailed woman. And she has her eyes on a new target. Her target is one of the elite monsters, which roars, "I'll devour you!" But she moves in a blur of purple energy, her tail lashing out like a whip. She dispatches it instantly, a display of power that strikes fear into all who witness it. And for one lesser monster, that fear turns into a twisted form of admiration. I want to become like that too. It grabs a nearby Murim warrior and hangs him upside down from a tree, the man screaming for help. The monster stares up at its terrified captive, and a strange thought crosses its mind. Am I scared? Realizing its own fear, it decides it must become even more fearsome to survive. It declares with newfound conviction, "Now I'm a predator too." "Humans should fear me!" it roars, fully embracing its new predatory mindset. Elsewhere on the battlefield, a disciple finds himself frozen before another hulking beast. The monster lunges, screaming, "Don't look down on me!" as Sion Munchuk yells for his comrade to snap out of it. In a flash of movement, a figure intercepts the attack, sending the monster stumbling back from a powerful blow. It's Sion Munchuk, a confident smirk spreading across his face. "It's my turn!" he declares, leaping into the air for a devastating overhead strike. The monster looks up in shock and takes the full force of the blow right to the chest. He glances back, shouting, "Yunjin! Dan Ryan! Thanks, Oriong!" Revealing their perfectly coordinated teamwork is already in motion. Oriong follows up with a powerful kick, shouting a monk's battle cry. Yunjin grins, acknowledging the perfect assist. "Thanks, Dan Ryan!" All 5 disciples, forged in the fires of Bai Li Yun's training, have officially joined the monster extermination. But their attention is drawn to a new, more sinister presence. Its aura is different, Yunjin notes, as Seon Munchuk identifies it as the master of the monster territory, and it's already wounded a high-ranking official. Guang Yun, the Yueyang branch chief, gasps out a warning. "Watch out for its claw, it uses bizarre attacks." But the disciples don't flinch. "Leave the rear to us," Dan Ryan declares, charging forward to meet the threat. The monster gathers a sphere of pure dark energy, but Dan Ryan intercepts it, swinging her weapon with all her might. The beast is sent flying back as Oriong follows up with another devastating blow. A fierce, joyful smile spreads across Dan Ryan's face. This is the fight they were born for. "Enough defending," Sion Munchuk roars. "It's time to hunt." The disciples' coordinated assault hammers into the monster territory master, but a single primal thought echoes in the beast's mind. "I'm strong, I must eat." Its red eyes flare with ravenous hunger. Ignoring the disciples, it suddenly lunges past them and turns on its own kind. It grabs a lesser monster, sinking its fangs deep into its flesh. The disciples are stunned. "What is it doing? It's eating the other monsters!" Xianwu Gang realizes the horrifying truth. "Kill it immediately," he screams. "The monster's fear is strengthening it." And he's right. The creature visibly absorbs the dark energy of its prey. Its eyes glow with malice as it roars. A true predator. Oh, Ryan grits his teeth in disgust. What a brutal creature! But Yunjin realizes it's even worse. The monster isn't just feeding on its own kind, it's absorbing the terror of the human warriors too. Panic spreads through the ranks as soldiers scream to run away. But Xianwu Gang remains calm, issuing a single command. "Follow my instructions." The disciples move as one. Gang takes the upper position. Chuck handles containment. He barks out orders, demanding they secure space and give the beast no openings. Yunjin knows it's a struggle, but they have to hold on. However, they're on the clock. The injured branch chief is trying to use a forbidden art that consumes his own lifespan, and he doesn't have much left to give. Seizing the moment, Xianwu Gang gives the signal. "Seo Munchok now!" as they launch their coordinated assault. With his golden sword blazing, Xianwu Gang thanks his comrades and declares, "I'll finish this in one blow." He brings down the full force of his purified technique, a whirlwind of radiant light. But in a horrifying twist, the blade shatters against the monster's hardened hide. His confidence turns to shock. The beast seizes its chance, grabbing him in a crushing grip. As its claws dig in, the monster roars its victory to the heavens. I won! I survive! Seonmunchuk screams his friend's name in pure terror, but suddenly a colossal blade of brilliant blue energy, shaped like a divine dragon, descends from the sky. It slices through the monster's arm with effortless power, freeing Seonwoo Gang. A single foot touches down. The disciples cry out in disbelief and relief. Sect leader, but why are you here? Elsewhere, Black Knight's projection smirks at Bailey Yun. You've grown stronger, child, though my plan this time hit a snag. Her form begins to dissipate into dark energy, leaving behind a final chilling promise. I'm looking forward to what comes next. Back on the battlefield, Bailey Yun stands firm as the reinvigorated Murim Alliance warriors charge past him. They descend upon the monster horde, roaring, "Don't let a single monster live!" As Bailey Yun draws his own blade, his mind is already elsewhere. Black Knight's appearance is earlier than I expected. I'll have to move up the schedule. After the battle at the Yueyang branch headquarters, an official reports the unbelievable news, asking, "Are you saying just 5 Murian Hall disciples held them off?" But in a private room, the wounded branch chief Gwang Yeon plots to steal their glory, instructing his subordinate to spread a lie. The Murian Hall disciples were of no help at all. He continues, "There is a saying, an awl in a pouch will inevitably pierce through and reveal itself." But the deputy military advisor, Yongjin, bursts in, shouting, "They must not be allowed to become heroes. If the Murian Hall disciples ride this momentum, we won't be able to pressure them to lose. Are you saying you will refuse orders from above for the greater good?" Gwang Yeon shoves him back, roaring, "Murian Hall is also a pillar of the Alliance. They are the future. Deliver this to the higher-ups. The disciples I saw were genuine martial artists, not green rookies." Elsewhere, on a much brighter day, the Murian Hall disciples celebrate their victory, loudly comparing their monster kill counts.
Bailey Yun apologizes for the noise, but their host simply says, "It's fine. That's how it is after a life-or-death battle."
Then he drops a bombshell. "Have you heard that the Murim Alliance is hoping for your defeat?" The joyous mood shatters instantly. Seonwoo Gang's face darkens with disbelief. Seonmunchuk grits his teeth in fury. Dan Ri-yeon glares, stunned into silence. Bailey Yun calmly sips his tea. "Judging from your faces, you have. So, what do you plan to do?" Seonwoo Gang explains their impossible choice. If they lose, the evil alliance stops attacking for a year, but if they win, their own sects will suffer. Bailey Yun points out the ultimate disrespect. If the alliance respected you, they would have asked you to throw the match, but they didn't. Do you know why? He leans in with a cold, sharp grin. Because you were weak. As the disciples reel from the insult, he continues, "In 4 years, you've never beaten Mujong Hall. When your defeat is a foregone conclusion, why would they ask your permission?" He stands before them, his presence crushing. "That is your reality as seen by the Murim Alliance. Now, I'll ask again. What do you want to do?" The heavy silence hangs over the table, the weight of Bailey Yun's challenge pressing down on them. But then, from the depths of despair, a sharp, defiant grin spreads across Seonwoo Gang's face. "Then win!" His voice rings out, filled with newfound purpose. "We'll beat Mujong Hall and prove that the Alliance leader's judgment is flawed." That single spark ignites a wildfire. The disciples look up, their eyes burning with resolve. "We'll make them remember that we are pillars of the Murim Alliance." A satisfied smirk plays on Bailey Yun's lips. Any objections? With their spirits rekindled, he raises his cup. "Excellent. In that case, the branch chief is treating, so eat as much as you like." But as the disciples cheer, a new blindfolded man at the table suddenly tenses, a cold sweat on his brow. What is this ominous feeling? Bailey Yun just grins, a glint in his eye. "Enjoy it while you can, because from tomorrow hell is waiting." As he speaks, a familiar blue light emanates from his hand. A system notification pops up, announcing a massive level up. Thanks to their exploits, the Yitian sect's fame has exploded, its rank has risen to level 9, and the status window is evolving. But their moment of triumph is shattered by a deafening crash that rocks the entire building. The system presents Bailey Yun with a choice for his sect's future, the path of expansion, becoming a massive power with hundreds of disciples and branch families, or the path of single lineage, a small elite group focused on perfectly preserving their unique arts, which grants massive growth speed bonuses to both the disciples and the sect leader. Sometime later, at a bustling inn near the Murim Alliance, Bai Liyun is still contemplating this crucial decision when Wang Pal announces, "Sect leader, the food is here." Putting the system away for now, he joins Seo Hua and Wang Pal for a meal. All right, let's eat before it gets cold. He knows that once the sect's direction is set, it can't be changed, so he decides to put the decision on hold. But Seo Hua has a pressing question. Are Mujong Hall's disciples really that outstanding? She asks. Everyone talks as if their victory is a given. Bai Liyun turns the question back on her, asking what she knows about the tournament format. Confidently, Seo Hua replies, "Isn't it just one-on-one duels? I've been in one of those." With a knowing smirk, Bai Liyun corrects her. A simple exchange, yes, but the grand tournament is on a whole different level. These academies are meant to raise the future pillars of the martial world. He explains that the goal isn't just to create fighters, but to forge leaders with real combat experience and situational judgment who will one day lead the entire Murim. The grand tournament is divided into 3 events, he begins. First is gate breakthrough. Second is the individual matches. And lastly, the group battle. The side that wins 2 out of 3 becomes that year's victor. Just then, a voice cuts in. "Hey, juniors." A man leans over their table asking Bai Liyun. And apparently Muryan Hall hasn't won even once in 4 years. So what odds do you give them this time, sect leader? Bai Liyun answers without hesitation. Of course Mujong Hall is heavily favored to win. The man smirks. Right, Yun? A booming laugh interrupts them. You still remember your old rival even after 7 years, huh? Ha ha. A text box introduces him. Pengguk, young master of the Peng clan, and Bai Liyun's old classmate. Bai Liyun stares, trying to place the name. Pengu? Ah, so that was your name, Bai Liyun says as Pengguk claps him on the shoulder, explaining to his disciples that they often crossed paths in the academy, but Pengguk's friendly demeanor vanishes. Spare me the pointless formality. An immense pressure suddenly fills the room, so heavy that Seo Hua and Wang Pal can't even move. He looks down on them with utter contempt. Don't bother. Mujong Hall is going to win anyway, so why waste my time watching? Pengguk boasts. Of course. They call them the Golden Class because their momentum reminds people of me back in the day. But Bai Liyun just smirks. Oh? Then it sounds like we might actually win. He leans in with a devilish grin. Did your class ever beat Muryan Hall even once? Pengguk stammers that the matches were close, but Bai Liyun cuts him off. The fact remains, not a single win. Enraged, Pengguk roars that things are different now. If only you weren't there. As lightning crackles between them, Bai Liyun calmly suggests, Then how about we make a bet? Pengguk is instantly suspicious. What scheme are you plotting this time? Just thinking of that arrogant face upsets my stomach. Bai Liyun's eyes narrow. Are you afraid of me? The tension is palpable. Pengguk scoffs. Fine, Mujong Hall is going to win anyway. What are you willing to stake? With a flick of his wrist, Bai Liyun reveals his wager. The Divine Physician's Medallion, a legendary token said to be able to save even the dead. Pengguk is stunned. What? You have that? Bai Liyun ignores his shock and names his price. Then you stake cold iron. He elaborates. Rumor has it the Pong clan has it. An iron ore that endlessly leaks icy cold air. Pengguk starts to sweat, stammering that it's not something he can just wager on his own. And Bai Liyun leans in, hitting him with the same question again. Are you scared? Enraged, Pengguk screams, Fine, I'll stake it! Then, trying to save face, he demands to know where these disciples Bai Liyun is so confident in are. Bai Liyun calmly replies that they're on their way, currently in the middle of some special training. We flash back to the Yidian sect, where Bai Liyun addresses the Muryan Hall disciples before their departure. He explains their final test is simple. They just have to arrive at the Murim Alliance headquarters safely. But there's a catch. They must travel in assigned teams. Xianwu Gang and Xianmun Chok are Team 1. Yunjin and Oh Ryong form Team 2. And a surprise Dan Riyan is assigned to go solo as Team 3. The time limit is 10 days, and they must all arrive 3 days before the tournament begins. Night falls over the mountains. We find Team 1 resting by a campfire, where Xianmun Chok asks a pensive Xianwu Gang if he's worried about the tournament. Xianwu Gang stares into the fire, his mind heavy. He knows there's no turning back, but changing his sword path doesn't erase his connection to the Bloodsword sect, and he has no idea how his former master will react. Suddenly, a sound cuts through the night. Seon Munchuk snaps to attention, asking if Seon Woo heard that. A figure emerges from the darkness. As the two disciples jump to their feet, the woman compliments their vigilance before Seon Munchuk demands to know who she is. The woman introduces herself as Moyoung Hyeyeon, captain of the Heaven Piercing Division, leaving the boys utterly stunned. Without another word, she draws her massive blade and declares she's here to request a mock battle. She confirms their identities and issues a simple command: draw your swords. A flustered Seonwoo gang asks why the legendary captain would personally spar with them, and she gives a one-word answer: repayment. She explains that during the 100 Ghost Night parade, they saved 2 of her men, and according to the rules of the Heaven Piercing Division, she must repay that debt. She moves in a blur, and Seon Munchuk can only shout in disbelief, trying to clarify why she, of all people, is the one fighting them. Moyoung Hyeyeon reveals this isn't a personal duel, it's a division-wide test, and the other Muryan Hall teams are already fighting her subordinates. We see Dan Ryeon facing off against the powerhouse Cheongha, while Moyoung Hyeyeon herself engages Seonwoo Gang and Seon Munchuk in a flurry of blows. The disciples finally understand Bailey Yoon's cryptic instruction. Arrive safely was a warning. Accepting their fate, Seon Munchuk respectfully asks the captain to go easy on them, but her confident smirk and glowing blade promise anything but an easy fight. Meanwhile, at the Murim Alliance headquarters, a crowd gathers as their rivals, the Mujong Hall disciples, make their grand entrance. One of them, a young man named Namgung Hyun, complains about the noisy crowd, clearly preferring a low profile. His teammate tells him to enjoy the cheers, but Namgung Hyun seems utterly confused by the concept. His partner scoffs, saying their victory over the Muryan Hall brats is so obvious it doesn't need cheering, a sentiment coldly confirmed by none other than Bailey San. Another disciple laughs, chiding Namgung Hyun for his bluntness, even if it's true. But their special instructor, the Wudang prodigy, cuts in, calling them out for their arrogance. He warns them that this year is different, because Bailey Yoon is on Muryan Hall's side. Bailey-san is stunned. She demands to know what he said, and the prodigy confirms it, noting Bailey Yoon is her kin. With a sharp grin, he warns them that Bailey Yoon is an outrageous opponent who can snatch victory from any situation, so they must never get complacent. His eyes blaze as he delivers a chilling warning. You are no longer the hunters. Muryan Hall is now the one hunting you. They must become the tiger that devours the hunters. With his message delivered, the Wudang prodigy walks away, leaving his disciples to process the shocking news. Bailey San's gaze hardens as she asks, That guy is here, you say? Meanwhile, a new group makes its way toward the Alliance. A man called Lord Ryan complains of boredom atop his carriage, while his subordinate reminds him they're now in Murim Alliance territory. Inside, a stern elder addressed as Great Sword scoffs at the tournament, calling it a bet with nothing to gain and everything to lose. His subordinate questions the timing of the truce, arguing that a longer war would have ultimately benefited the Murim Alliance. But Lord Ryan is confident, declaring that they simply have to win, dismissing the idea that the Alliance would ever let Muryan Hall succeed. He explains that the Alliance won't act directly, but the Muryan Hall disciples come from smaller sects and will be too afraid of the consequences to actually fight for a victory. With a wicked grin, he admits that the idea of a truce has crossed his mind, but he has absolutely no intention of losing this bet. The conversation shifts as the subordinate asks the Great Sword about a disciple he was once unable to take in, and a familiar silhouette appears in his memory. The elder laments that even though he can't claim the boy, he hates the thought of him belonging to anyone else. The Great Sword continues, musing that the Murim Alliance is vast and deep. A grand shot of the Alliance headquarters. He laments that because of this, they fail to see the uncut gem rolling right at their feet. Elsewhere, the architect of this chaos, the Evil Path Alliance leader, reflects on his bet, knowing it was a trivial favor the Alliance couldn't refuse. With a sinister grin, he reveals his true goal, to plant a single seed of doubt, because a single doubt is all it takes to make the first crack. The scene shifts to the Muryan Hall Lord's office, where they are impatiently awaiting their disciples. The Muryan Hall Lord, Yan Gun, complains about the impossible situation they're in, when an aide suddenly announces that their guests have arrived. Relieved, she begins giving orders, but the aide stammers that it's not the Muryan Hall disciples who have shown up. In a panicked shout, he announces that the Evil Path Alliance leader has arrived, stunning both Yan Gun and Deputy Lord Heo So. And there he is. sitting calmly in their office as if he owns the place, while the enraged deputy lord can only stare in disbelief at this audacious power play. The scene cuts to a tense meeting where Bailey Yun calmly sips tea, remarking on its fine quality, while Deputy Lord Heo So internally seethes at the sight of the legendary former captain. Heo So finally explodes, demanding to know where the Muryeon Hall disciples are, but Bailey Yun simply states he is the Yitian sect leader and that they will be here soon. The Deputy Lord begrudgingly acknowledges Bailey Yun's legendary training skills, only to cut himself off with a furious shout. He fumes that even so, they could at least be punctual. Unfazed, Bailey Yun asks if arriving the day before the tournament isn't good enough. Slamming the table, Heo So explains that their rivals from Mujong Hall have already returned, and the welcoming ceremony is set to begin as soon as the Evil Alliance arrives. He insists that for the Murim Alliance, appearances are everything, just as an aide rushes in to announce the Evil Alliance delegation will arrive in half an hour. As Heo So panics about the shame of Muryeon Hall's empty seats, Bailey Yun cuts through his despair with two simple words. With a smirk of absolute certainty, he promises that every last one of his disciples will make it. And speak of the devil, the Evil Path Alliance leader himself arrives, walking through a sea of warriors as he internally mocks their grand welcoming ceremony. He calls the display a childish little show, as his subordinate correctly deduces it's a weak attempt to intimidate them before the real talks begin. A high-ranking official greets them, and the Evil Path leader is surprised to see the elusive Shinsan Guimo has come out personally. The man introduces himself as the Murim Alliance's first military advisor, Gu Yangjuk, and formally welcomes them inside. The grand doors swing open, revealing a truly massive welcome, forcing the Evil Path leader to admit the scale is more than he expected. But the real show of force stands before him, the legendary Sword Emperor, Baekri Gang, and the Sword Queen, Cheon Seoryong. He smirks, noting how extravagant it is for two of the legendary Three Swords to greet him personally. As they walk, he quips that he never imagined being guided by them, though he's often imagined driving blades into their hearts, prompting the Sword Queen to ask if he's trying to provoke them. He just laughs it off. The Sword Emperor then gestures towards a group of young warriors, identifying them as the Mujong Hall disciples. He proudly calls them the Golden Class, boasting that even the Evil Path Alliance has only a handful of talents that can compare, but the Evil Path Alliance leader just sneers, completely unimpressed. They're still more disappointing than I expected. He asks if they're upset that their chances of winning have plummeted, before declaring with absolute certainty, "Quite the opposite. This bet is as good as mine." Suddenly, his expression changes to a wicked grin as he looks up. They're here? Just then, 5 figures soar through the sky. They land with perfect, synchronized precision right in the center of the courtyard. The Evil Path leader looks over the so-called Golden Class with disdain, remarking, "By the standards of the Dark Path, Mujong Hall is lacking." Kneeling in formation, Seonwoo Gang announces their arrival. Muryeon Hall Training Group, Team Leader Seonwoo Gang and 5 disciples, we now return from training. Watching them, Bailey Yun thinks to himself with pride. These ones have exceeded expectations. We see a quick flashback to moments before, as the disciples watched the Evil Path delegation arrive through the rarely used main gate. They understood the immense weight of this event, with one asking if they were really going to go through with their audacious plan. Seonwoo Gang lays out their audacious plan, recalling their final test. To slip past the heaven-piercing captain, he says, this is our only way. But their stealthy approach fails as they're spotted in the crowd. Seon Munchuk realizes they can use the public setting to their advantage, but Seonwoo knows their time is up. Let's go! With a cry, they commit, launching themselves into the air. The 5 disciples soar over the stunned onlookers and descend in a perfect synchronized formation right in the center of the courtyard. The flashback ends, returning us to the present as they complete their grand announcement. Watching from the sidelines, the Sword Emperor Baekri Gang smirks. So you all had the same idea, he thinks. Saves me the trouble of tracking you down. Seonwoo Gang finally looks up, realizing they've landed right in front of the Evil Path leader, and spots his master in the crowd. Even their final examiner, Captain Moyong Hyeon, watches with a hint of pride. Do your best to get through this, juniors. The Evil Path leader's disdain melts into a wide, predatory grin. This is entertaining, he declares. By Dark Path standards, the Muryeon Hall disciples are a pass. The first military advisor, Gu Yangjuk, laughs heartily. Since you seem to view our Muryan Hall disciples so kindly, we decided to make our entrance a bit more dramatic. I like it. The evil path leader's gaze falls upon the 5 disciples. So then, he asks, his voice low and dangerous, are you confident you can win? He leans in, a predatory glint in his eyes. I've placed my bet on you after all. I'd say that qualifies you to hear my answer, doesn't it? But Xianwu Gang meets his stare without an ounce of fear. We will win. The leader's eyes narrow. Oh, do you understand the weight of those words? Of course. He presses them, testing their resolve. Even if, by winning this bet, the Murim Alliance decides to saddle you with some disadvantages, a confident smirk spreads across Xianwu's face. There won't be any need for us to endure disadvantages. As his comrades stand firm behind him, he delivers the final blow. Because the joy of victory will belong solely to Muryan Hall. His bold declaration hangs in the air, a direct challenge to the established powers. Elsewhere, a voice asks, do you realize what you've just said? The Wudang prodigy steps forward, his expression serious. Your words have just put a target on your back. Everyone who assumed Mujong Hall would win easily will now see you as a true rival. You've thrown away an easy first win, he warns. But Xianwu is resolute. We don't want to hear excuses later. We want a true victory. The prodigy sighs, conceding the point. Fine, rest up. As he turns to leave, Xianwu asks where he's going. Someone has to do damage control. A sly grin spreads across his face as he walks away. Might as well go see an old friend. The scene shifts to a quiet room where the Wudang prodigy sits with his sword. What brings you here? The visitor is none other than Bai Li Yun, who casually takes a seat. The prodigy smirks, curious to see why the man who hates teaching is suddenly an instructor. You always know how to get under my skin, the prodigy muses, before landing a jab of his own. Then again, you haven't beaten me once in 10 years. Maybe this is your chance. Bai Li Yun's eyes gleam with mischief. About that, how about we make this a 5-on-5 elite showdown? No need to waste time. The prodigy laughs. So it's true. 11 of your trainees ran off. A hilarious flashback shows Lord Yan Gun throttling Bai Li Yun, screaming about only having 5 disciples left. If the numbers are that lopsided, it's not a fair fight, the prodigy taunts, leaning back. I'm giving you a chance. It would be quite embarrassing if you lost even with a numbers advantage, wouldn't it? Do you seriously think Muryan Hall will win? The prodigy scoffs. Bai Li Yun's smile doesn't waver. Of course. I can guess their skills just by knowing you're their instructor. The prodigy leans in, his voice dripping with condescension. You never had a talent for teaching. You always tried to handle everything alone, and that's why you lost to me. Suddenly he stands, rejecting the offer outright. I refuse your 5-on-5 showdown. Failing to manage your disciples is your mistake. Get lost. But Bai Li Yun is unfazed. All right then, I accept your refusal. The prodigy grits his teeth as Bai Li Yun continues. Then how about this instead? He holds up a single finger, a wicked glint in his eye. Just one day. For one day we swap disciples and train each other's hall. The prodigy is stunned. Bai Li Yun presses his advantage. Everyone already expects Mujong Hall to win. Even if they do, you won't get any of the credit. He lays out his logic. But if we fight after both sides have laid their conditions bare, the story changes. The prodigy's eyes narrow in disbelief. Are you saying that with just one day of observation, you can overturn both the numerical disadvantage and the skill gap? Exactly, Bai Li Yun confirms, his smirk widening. It makes our rivalry fairer. Or are you too scared you might lose? That's the last straw. The Wudang prodigy explodes in fury. Bai Yun, just how far are you planning to humiliate me? Elsewhere, in a steaming bath, Bai Li Yun's sister, Bai Li San, tries to find a moment of peace, but her mind is racing. Ha! Why only now? She knows confronting her brother is useless. Even if I go to him myself, he won't give me a straight answer. Her frustration hardens into a cold resolve. I'll completely crush the Muryan Hall disciples and then ask him, is this what you wanted so badly you abandoned your clan for? She makes a vow she won't meet him until then. And so the disciple swap begins, with Bailey Yun greeting the Mujong Hall disciples with a confident smile. "I'm Baekri Yun," he announces, "and I'll be in charge of your training for today." Immediately, a disciple named Cheong Gyeong objects, demanding to know why they're receiving training from an instructor on Muryeon Hall's side. Meanwhile, the Wudang prodigy is having a much harder time, absolutely losing it with the Muryeon Hall disciples. Bailey Yun admits to himself that this was a difficult arrangement to make, but he reassures them, saying they're his juniors and he won't harm them, giving anyone who distrusts him a chance to step aside. When no one moves, he smirks and calls out the dissenter, then Cheonggyong step forward. He lays out the day's training. They will spar with him one-on-one, and he promises to match their level. Taking the bait, Cheonggyong charges in with a furious battle cry, but Bailey Yun is a phantom, effortlessly weaving through every attack and blocking each strike with casual ease. Cheonggyong is stunned. He collapses to his knees, realizing that even with Bailey Yun holding back, he can't land a single hit. As the disciple questions if this level of skill is even possible, Bailey Yun simply smirks and asks, "Who's next?" The next challenger meets the exact same impenetrable defense. He parries another strike with a single hand, the force of the blow sparking in the air. The disciple's face twists in disbelief. Another challenger rushes forward, a flurry of fists and feet. But Baekri Yun just calls out, "Next." And another falls. And another. One by one, the elite disciples of Mujong Hall are left scattered and defeated. With a confident smirk, Baekri Yun looks over the stunned crowd and asks, "No one else?" The disciples are completely shaken, realizing this man might be even stronger than their own instructor. Baekri Yun, however, is already analyzing them, noting that while their fundamentals are solid, the young Namgung Hyun stands out the most. He even compares Hyun to Sianwoo Gang, musing that if Sianwoo hadn't lost his way, they'd be at the same level. With that, he declares the sparring session over. But suddenly a new challenger lands with a powerful stomp. A familiar voice rings out, "You gave everyone a sword, but I'm the exception?" A knowing grin spreads across Baekri Yun's face. "Long time no see." It's his sister, Bailey San, and she immediately draws her blade. Her eyes blaze with killing intent as she snarls, "If you don't want to die, draw your sword." The scene flashes back to the past, to a tiny, pouting Bailey San. As a child, she was confined to the estate, throwing a tantrum because she was forbidden from going outside. Pouting in her room, she wished her mother was still there to let her out. And that's when a young Baekri Yun appeared, ready to sneak his little sister out for an adventure. Her eyes widen in surprise. He'd carry her on his shoulders through the bustling night market, her laughter echoing in the streets. He promised that no matter what, he would always be there to take her on an adventure, a promise she cherished. These secret trips became her most treasured moments, and she'd wake up each day wondering where they'd go next. But one morning, her happy routine was shattered when a panicked servant burst into her room. The news was unthinkable. Her beloved brother, Baekri Yun, had disappeared. The memory fades, and we're back in the present, where Baekri Yun greets the sister he left behind. Another Mujong Hall disciple tries to make small talk, but San only has eyes for her brother, demanding to know what he's doing here. We see how she's coped with his absence, by pouring everything into her training, becoming cold and relentlessly driven, pushing everyone away to focus on her one goal, getting strong enough to face him. He sees it in her eyes, the cold hardness that wasn't there before. She's changed. The carefree girl he once knew is gone, replaced by a warrior who's forgotten how to enjoy herself. He can't help but wonder what could have possibly happened to her. One of her fellow disciples tries to intervene, calling out her name in alarm. But Bailey San ignores him, her gaze locked on her brother as she draws her sword. "Draw your sword," she commands. Baekri Yun tries to greet her calmly, but it's too late for pleasantries. She lunges without warning, unleashing the Bailey family's white blossom art in a furious flurry of strikes. He parries the attack, but she presses forward relentlessly. Her blade cuts through the air, a ribbon of pure, focused intent, and the force of her strike shatters the training ground. As the dust settles, Baekri Yun calmly compliments her. "Your achievements have grown considerably. You must have worked very hard." But his tone shifts as he questions her choice of technique. But why the true blazing white blossom art? He explains it's an art of pure overwhelming force, ill-suited for her, but his lecture only fuels her rage. "Are you trying to lecture me now?" She clashes with him again, screaming, "After abandoning me and leaving?" Her words strike a nerve. "You said you'd take me out any time." With tears of fury in her eyes, she finally asks the question that has haunted her for years. Why did you leave the clan? He dodges her desperate lunge, his answer infuriatingly simple. Something I can't tell you. I thought so, she scoffs, preparing another attack. She unleashes a powerful punch, aiming right for his face. But he evades with ease, her fist missing its mark and crashing into the ground below. How arrogant, she seethes. You still don't want to hurt me? Then I'll strike at that opening, she roars, unleashing a terrifying variation of their family's art. The true blazing blossom art, blazing heavens. A monstrous wave of dark energy surges towards Baekri Yoon, but with a flash of light, he finally draws his own blade, meeting her overwhelming power head-on. The dust settles, revealing Baili-san staggering to one knee as a Mujong Hall disciple gasps. The instructor finally drew his sword. The disciple is stunned, realizing with dawning horror. This isn't the blazing heavens I knew. His understanding has reached the level of creating new techniques. Baili-san coughs up blood, the force of the counterattack taking its toll. Defeated, she looks up at her brother and admits, I can't beat you. Not now, and not in the future either. Wiping the blood from her lips, she clarifies, but you're the only one I can't beat. I wonder if there's anyone in Muryan Hall who can face me. Her eyes burn with a new fire as she declares, I won't lose to Muryan Hall, because I'll make sure of it, she vows, her eyes blazing with renewed purpose. Baekri Yoon turns back, a sad but proud smile on his face. You've grown a lot since I last saw you. A brief memory of a happy past gives way to the harsh present as he murmurs, Now, we're enemies then. He then faces the stunned Mujong Hall disciples with a sharp grin. Aren't you going to train? As he walks away, he dismisses their confusion. There's still time left. Train on your own and come find me if you have questions. But a bald disciple named Peng Jin calls out, I have a question. Why did you run away from home 15 years ago? Another disciple tries to apologize for the bluntness, but Baekri Yoon waves him off. No, it's fine to ask. Baili-san's face twists in fury as she screams, Make your excuses! Baekri Yoon's expression fills with sorrow as he thinks, if I did that, everything Mother tried to protect might come to nothing. He looks at his sister. I'm sorry, San. Turning away from the painful topic, he's stopped by another voice, Nam Gung Hyun. I have something to ask. Baekri Yoon notes, Your speech is short? To which the prodigy replies, That's just my personality. Get used to it. Baekri Yoon asks, All right, what is it? Nam Gung Hyun begins, Earlier that story, I have something relevant to say. He bluntly states that Muryan Hall's chances of winning are low, listing Mujong Hall's powerhouses, Baekri-san, Peng Jin, Cheong Young, and himself. So are you telling me to forfeit? But then, with a look of intense resolve, he makes a shocking request. In this tournament, please, defeat Mujong Hall. He explains that Baekri-san has changed drastically since she was a child. Until now, I couldn't understand why. But after seeing today, I realized for certain. What drives Baekri-san to swing her sword? He continues his logical breakdown. As long as her hatred is directed at you, even if we overwhelmingly defeat Muryan Hall, that hatred won't be resolved. Then there's only one way. His eyes burn with conviction. Crush Mujong Hall. Baekri Yoon looks at him, a slight smirk playing on his lips. Why are you going this far for San? He asks, before cheekily adding, I can't allow that. I have a fiancé, he teases, completely misreading the room. A flustered Nam Gung Hyun demands, Then why? But instead of answering, Baekri Yoon abruptly changes the subject, roaring with enthusiasm, Let's spar! Nam Gung Hyun! Leaving his sister utterly dumbfounded. Nam Gung Hyun's expression softens as he reveals his simple, heartfelt reason. Because she's my first friend. He passionately admits he knows it's an impossible request, but still begs Baekri Yoon not to give up easily, only to be cut off by a calm, You don't need to ask. A wicked grin spreads across Baekri Yoon's face. I was planning to win anyway.